water bull.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast. On Sunday, the 14th of January, 2024, I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today is Zachary Burgess.
Water-loaded bull.
And Robert Kemp.
We think too alike sometimes.
I knew. I could see out of the corner of my eye. I could see Rob making a face. I was like, I know what intro he's going for. I'm going to get there first because I get to go first the intro.
It was either that or like I was just thinking like, no, don't actually add extra words. Just, what a bull. What a lovely bull. What a bull. Or maybe like say it like the pinball construction kit's multi-ball. What a ball.
Molly ball.
What a bull.
That was a water ball, though.
What a bull.
Which
Yeah,
I
water ball.
feel like has been a thing in a pinball game that we've played at some point.
What a ball. I don't think there was technically a ball made of water in that Psycho
water.
pinball table, but I mean, you're underwater.
Yeah,
but,
no, I distinctly remember a ball that changes into a water ball in a probably real bad pinball game at some point.
Yeah, probably.
It was probably one of those graphic pinball games where it's like, oh, look how pretty this is, and the ball can change, and it's actually not actually a very good pinball game.
It's probably a Pinball Effects game, isn't it?
Probably.
Fire and Shade at Pinball Effects. You know, the best-selling pinball game, probably.
Were those
Which
not
sucks.
good tables in Pinball Effects?
No, they're not. And they doesn't like the physics of Pinball Effects isn't fun, and I don't know, all the numbers, like it does the video game thing, right? The bits of score just pop off where the ball is, and it's like, no, I'm a purist. I need my score to be on a dot matrix display.
Yeah, to emulate the real pinball tables. Although they probably have like 4K displays at this point. I don't know.
I'm just want to say is like that's the least of the problems in those things. It's just those tables are kind of boring. That's just all it is. They're not that fun. And maybe, it's probably the Pinball Effects physics making them less interesting. I don't know. But
So what's the S-tier pinball simulating at this point?
you know, I don't actually know because it's like obviously. But previously, I would have said Pinball Arcade. That had problems, but like it was a pretty good. It was a fun way to play those tables. I don't necessarily think that the physics in those games was particularly real compared to like when you play a real table. Like there's definitely a difference there, but it was at least a fun representation of those physics. It was a nice way to play. A little bit forgiving, maybe. And it didn't necessarily. I don't think they handled the verticality of ball physics particularly well. Like it was almost a 2D model, right? Like. It's the thing
like it never leaves the surface of the
something like that. I mean, there were definitely tables they had in Pinball Arcade. I think I forget what it's called, but there's one where it's basically like a golf pinball table, and they have a ramp that you use to ramp off the table into some targets that are behind the playboard, essentially, and you have to hit it up that ramp. And so they did model that, but I always thought that felt a little jank the way that actually functioned. So yeah, probably like at that point, I would have said that, just not because it was the best simulation, but because it was the most fun way to play those tables. But now I don't really know, because Pinball Effects kind of ate their lunch. Like they're not really Farsight aren't a company anymore, as far as I'm aware. I don't know. Like you could like buy virtual pinball tables, and I don't know what software they're using under the hood. Right, by virtual pinball tables, they're literally like someone just built a wooden box and put a telly on it, right, and a couple of buttons.
Oh right.
They kind of, I don't know. I don't see the appeal of those. Like, if you want a pinball table, get like a full-on massive mechanical monstrosity.
But they're impossible to maintain.
They are impossible to maintain. Yeah. I still want one day, but I mean, I've got a garage and everything now. I can actually house one, but.
If you don't want to use your garage to put cars in, then yeah, I guess so.
Our garage is a little bit too thin to put cars in. Like you could,
helpfully for a garage.
Yeah, you could, but it wouldn't be comfortable. Maybe if I had got an old Mini again, like an old Mini, not a new Mini, then it might be suitable. But anyway, Gnome just fills it with crap anyway, so you know.
So you put a full table in there as well.
Yeah.
You would be able to play it in the winter. Enjoyably.
Enjoyably, yeah. Yeah, probably need to convert. the garage at some point to make that viable. More money than the damn pinball table. Not that pinball tables are cheap. Good God.
No.
That market has actually been increasing, like, significantly. Yeah, I don't know. I want to say there was an engine called Future Pinball at one point that was like an open source community made engine that was like fully physics driven. And you had to model like the bits of the table that would actually, the switches had to be, tended to be realistic, like proper gates and stuff, and you would trigger things, and it would have emulated behind the scenes systems running the game logic, right, and the screens and all the sound effects and stuff like that. So it's I could never get that thing to run though. Like it seemed like that was the at the time. This is years ago when I was looking at the time. That seemed like the holy grail of pinball simulation. It's like, oh, this looks really cool. I should get this running, but I just couldn't get it to actually function. Clearly doing something wrong. Yeah, pinball's kind of out of fashion right now. It felt like there was a moment where it might make a comeback.
Well, I mean, it did. That was the moment of slightly before Pinball FX.
Yeah. But I meant like in almost in physical terms, right? But then I guess where would you put them?
That's just like all arcades. There's been the incredibly minor occasional someone will make one machine come back, and it's just like, it's not going to stick.
Yeah, because they don't even put them in bars anymore, right? Because there's so few of them about.
And people only want gambling in bars.
Yeah, people only want shitty gambling machines. Good God. You don't see many of those, like, as many of those machines that basically had, like, a whole bunch of mobile games on them, right? Like, the Spot the Difference game, or Deal or No Deal. You don't see so many of those. Those machines. But now they're just, like, straight out those virtual slot machines, right? They're the ones I tend to see. Someone
just needs to start importing pachinko.
Right.
Bring in the real gambling.
There must be a
but they're so noisy.
Parlor somewhere in the country.
I don't know, actually. I don't know if I've ever heard of, like, I guess what you'd call a modern era pachinko machine anywhere outside of Japan.
Yeah.
Not that those things are any good either. If the simulations in Yakuza are anything to go by.
I'm sure they're pretty accurate.
Well, probably, yeah. Their dedication to emulating old Sega stuff is pretty strong in those games.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they are from Sega, so
some of them are. Yeah,
I suppose that's understandable.
Konami make a bunch as well, famously.
That's true.
Castle. And then you want that new Castlevania game? It's a pachinko machine.
Yep.
I was thinking about that the other day, actually. They haven't made a Castlevania in bloody ages, have they? Not a proper one.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing they would have made was the TV shows, right?
They
tried to reboot that.
Netflix cut the Netflix anime. Yeah, people really like that.
People like that, yeah. Now, surely the time. I mean, there's a Prince of Persia game, so surely you can make a...
Sure. I don't think Metroidvania ever really goes out of style, and it's been like...
No, not really.
And it's been a long time since Bloodstained as well, right? That was like the nearest thing we've got to a proper Castlevania game.
Well...
Given that it was also made by
that
Ego,
we know of, as usual, is the problem with this conversation. Because those aren't exactly the type of games that we would usually be hunting around for.
Yeah.
Especially in the indie space.
I've frequently considered going and playing an actual Castlevania, but I never actually have. Like not one of them I've ever played, and that feels like a mistake because I really liked Bloodstained.
How many of them are on Nintendo Switch Online at the moment?
I know Super Castlevania is on my SNES Mini.
Well, yeah, there's that too, I guess.
And that's supposed to be a good one. But I've never played like Symphony of the Night is obviously right the go-to. That's like the pinnacle. Yeah, this is a podcast about video games.
Yeah,
somewhat
straight on topic. Apparently, we got any non-video game random going on?
I mean, I watch some TV.
I can talk about YouTube adverts again if anyone wants to hear some more.
You know, I really do.
Let's start with YouTube.
Actually, I guess I guess it's not actually YouTube adverts this time. It's just the state of my YouTube. Well, okay, first thing that I wanted to point out is I have now seen the flashing like and subscribe buttons.
Oh, right.
That has percolated down as far as my YouTube apparently now. And it's like rainbow coloured as well.
Yeah.
Which seems a bit much.
I don't think I'm always part of the multivariate test. Like sometimes I see it and sometimes not.
But the other weird thing that's been happening on my YouTube, which is not advert related but is algorithm related, I guess, is a thing I've noticed that like in the shit zone at the bottom of the page where if you scroll too far you enter the shit zone. One thing that like seems to like pop up and then disappear for a few months and then pop up again, and it's done this like multiple times, which is why I've noticed it, which is really weird because it's like, what is this algorithm doing? Is specifically videos that appear to be in Hindi, I guess. It's like one of the Indian languages that looks all squiggly, so it's like it's quite obvious when it's doing that.
Sure.
And ASMR videos, but they come together. It's like those two things always start appearing in the shit zone for like a month or two, and then they go away again for a while, and then they both come back again for a while. It's just like, what? Why is the algorithm doing that with those two things specifically to me?
That's pretty great. Hindi ASMR.
Well, no, it's not. They're not the same videos. It's two separate things.
Oh, okay. It hasn't literally combined them.
It's just the Hindi and ASMR videos both appear at the same time, and they both go away at the same time.
Weird.
It's like, what is that algorithm? Why is it decided to pick up on those two things? It's not like I ever watch any of them, so it is the shit zone.
I mean, that's definitely what happens on Netflix, right? When you go too far to the right on a category, you start getting Hindi for some reason. Like, it's not even just like foreign language section; it's always like Hindi.
I mean, I guess it makes some sense for like the algorithmic UK market, I suppose.
Maybe, yeah,
because quite a lot of Indian people in the UK.
Oh, of course, yeah. I'm not saying there isn't a market.
Yes, so that sort of explains it in a general location-based algorithm way of populating the shit zone.
Why is that so funny to me? I don't know. It's just
yeah, they've come back again. This month.
I've stopped. It's seemingly my YouTube account's obsession with that LinkedIn ad has ended.
Oh, okay.
I'm now seeing a variety of normal ass adverts now.
Oh man, just earlier on when I was watching video, apparently some new, possibly shitty mobile game has dumped a whole bunch of advertising spend because suddenly this is the only advert I'm getting, and it's like, well, at least it's not the other shitty mobile game advert that I've been seeing continuously for the last month and a half. But apart from that previous one has like hundreds of different variations of essentially the same thing, but they are different. Whereas I've only seen one of this new one.
This one with like lots of variations. It wouldn't be Royal Clash, or something like that. Because I get loads of those on my phone.
Well, sure, but that's an actual mobile game. That would make sense.
It's a mobile game on my phone, but they have so many different ads. Like,
yes.
It's basically like a match-free game where it's basically it only seems to be like a time limited match 3 thing each time. But the number of scenarios they put this king that's about to die in, and I'm pretty sure that can't. It doesn't. It never looks real.
No, right? I mean that's what the trouble with this is. Like, you can. It's well known that these mobile game adverts are unreal.
Yeah.
Like they're not actually it will be like one level in 20 that is like that, but the rest is some other shit. Then they're just trying to lure you with the slightly less shit part.
With these weird bits that they've spent time on. It's like the one for me that gets me, like that looks totally. I mean, it'd be cool if it's not like faked, but like the one that gets me a little bit is like there's this the king's in a room that's on fire for some reason, and the fire is rising. Somehow,
right.
I don't know. It doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me because it's like a castle, right? It's like what is
on fire?
What is on fire in this stone room?
all those hanging parchments and whatnot.
Yeah, the giant carpets they put on the walls or whatever, hanging things. Yes, but there's like water that pours onto the match 3 grid, and you've basically got to make a channel for it through the grid, and it eventually falls down. But there's water. The way the water physics actually looks. It's probably a little bit too good for a match 3 game. You know what I mean? Like those water physics look legit, man.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be, well, maybe for a mobile game, but it wouldn't necessarily be that hard to just make a water physics thing, just overlay a effect on top of, and like, you know, highlighting squares in a grid or whatever.
Maybe.
At this point, it's probably just a plugin. You just be like, put in the water effects, blam, and there it goes.
I suppose. But I did just look at it and think, like, nah, they wouldn't have gone to that effort, would they? Not as one of the things this game does, supposedly.
Supposedly.
I also get like loads of variants of I don't. Well, but they're like infinite shooters, as far as I can tell. You start off as one guy, and then
that's the other classic mobile game bullshit.
Yeah, there's like loads of those. It's like I don't know if I've seen like many ads of the same one, but there just seems to be a bucket load of them.
The thing about those and some of the other similar styles of these things is just like they aren't. It's like, that isn't a game. Like, how can you possibly fail at choosing the larger number?
Yeah.
Which is what most of them are like.
That's the thing. A lot of them like look like math puzzles, right? Simple, where you start with one guy, and then it's like, okay, I need to run through the +5 gates to get 5 more guys in my team, and then I could either run through this -3 gate or this ×10 gate. Which one am I going to choose? And of course, in the ad, they always run through the shit gate, and then get immediately murdered.
That's not a game. How is that a game? How does this advertisement fool anyone? I mean, I guess that is the trick, isn't it? Because what they're actually doing is being like, you can do better than this.
Yeah.
They're trying to trick you into getting into it because you're like, man, this guy's dumb. I could so beat this.
This looks easy. I could do this. Yeah. Well, there's one of that set of games that I've seen where it legitimately looked like, actually, that kind of looks all right. Where it's like, it's the exact same thing, but instead of like running through the gates, you had to like actually shoot a path to a power up or something to get that power up or something. So if you didn't, so there was actually a little bit of a judgment call. It looked like, well, if I don't have the firepower, I want that thing. Yeah, but if I misjudge how much firepower I have, I can't shoot that thing in time.
But that doesn't actually work either.
I'll miss the thing somewhere else.
That doesn't actually work either, because in those ones, it's just like you basically just replay the level until you find the right path. Probably. Essentially, it's the exact same thing, except it's obscured by like a slight physics element.
Yeah. You're right. It's the same thing, but they've obfuscated it a little bit so it feels more gamey, I suppose. Traditionally gamey, even if it. I
mean, it would be more interesting if it was like some kind of cookie clicker thing, where it's just like literally you have to tap the button faster to win. If you can't hit the button to shoot 100 bullets quick enough, then you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Train your finger.
Put like a you know those like styluses that work on like phone touchscreens, like the rubber tipped things. Like, can you attach that to the end of like a electric toothbrush or something and have it just do that for you?
I expect there's some kind of input limit on a phone screen, probably.
Oh, probably. Yeah. I mean, it depends on the tech of your phone, I guess.
Yeah.
I need to buy a new electric toothbrush.
I had to. My one
just died.
Perfectly fine. Died. Yeah.
Yeah. The motor
planned obsolescence. I'm annoyed.
Well, it hasn't sort of fully died. It's like I can still charge it up and all that stuff, but like the motor is effectively like seized, so I can't. Like I've wiggled it a few times with a pair of pliers, which if you go to my bathroom, that's why there's a pair of pliers in there at the moment. But yeah, I can sort of wiggle it a bit to get it to move again, as long as there's a decent charge in the battery. But then it doesn't seem like it's running at full power, and like while it's got the toothbrush head on, it will occasionally just jam up again, and it's like, well, this is unusable.
Yeah, mine just died out of the blue, and I was annoyed because I had replacement heads for it or whatever, which are expensive enough in themselves. So yeah, but only lucky part was it was Black Friday at the time.
Oh, right, I see.
The replacement was on discount, but still, which is the same, but for some reason, fancy gold looking plastic on it. It's like, I don't know if I want it to look gold.
That's the Black Friday angle, isn't it? Get rid of the shit ones that no one wants.
I don't know, man. I was like, I just use like Oral-B Pro, right, and everything. Like, all the heads are like compatible in that. It like doesn't matter which one you have. You just.
I'm on the dark side. I'm on the Philips side of everything.
Philips side, right?
Philips
gotcha.
Shavers.
Yeah, so as far as I know, Oral-B haven't changed anything for like forever. So it's like I've got spare heads, and they should work if I replace. But I was looking I was looking like around for like, because I want to spend a huge amount of money on an electric bloody toothbrush, right?
They're expensive.
Like, it can be, yeah.
Apparently,
yeah. So but you're talking about like this goldness to it, but I did like get temporarily like sidelined by like I was on the Curry's website and there was one that was just, oh, this one's in pure black. Well, that looks kind of neat. And then there's the one right next to it that's the exact same model, but it's got like but the carry case for this one has got fancy lines on it, and then like like a nice design. Sort of like pattern on it, and my brain was immediately like, oh, I want that one for no reason at all.
it's no reason. When are you going to use the carrying case when you're on trips and stuff?
Yeah, I mean the one that came with mine, I actually have used quite a lot. Like,
well, you had more reasons to use it in the past.
Yeah, exactly. I used to take it with me when I went traveled for work and things like that every couple of weeks, so that got a lot of use. But carry cases for toothbrushes they're okay. They're a thing, because then you could put like most the one.
They're a thing.
Yeah, you could have one toothbrush and his and hers heads in the same case.
Yeah, you can do. I mean, convenient.
Yeah.
Whether you need a fancy Argyle pattern on the outside of the case.
No, I'm not sure I did, but yeah.
By the by.
Some sweet tartan or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Carbon fiber.
And then you put it in like the crappiest like wash bag that you've had since the 90s or something.
Yeah, something like that. It doesn't happen to me very often, that sort of like that weird aesthetic ping. Like, it happened to me to a pair of running shoes like many years ago or something, where there was like a limited edition set of running shoes that had like Japanese characters all over them, but it was like Asics, and it was in the range that I normally buy, and a bit of me was just like, oh, look at them, those are beautiful. Like, it doesn't, that's such a rare thing for me. Although I did kind of have that yesterday a little bit when we just happened to be in the right side of Ipswich, and we thought, you know what, should we go test drive an electric car? Should we just do that?
Yeah.
We've been wanting to do that for ages. So should we just go do that? So we rocked up the Kia, and I like just standing with my jaw on the floor in front of an EV6, going, "Oh, it's so beautiful."
So nice.
So I stupidly I didn't have my wallet on me, so I couldn't test drive the thing. So Noam did it, but I got so I rode along, and it's like even just, oh, it's so nice. Oh my god.
Yes.
Expensive cars are nice. Who'd have thought?
I see electric car in your future.
Oh man! Oh, it was so cool.
I mean, to be fair, they'll ban the sale of petrol cars before long.
In theory, yeah. I doubt that will actually come to pass. Like, but in the time scale they specify, anyway. I mean, they're getting better, right? EVs and stuff. They're starting to make smaller cars that are electric, that are practical, but they're need that. Was it that the Chinese guys, BYD, that basically make everyone's batteries? They need to
build your freaking dreams.
Yeah,
BYFD.
Biffed. So
did Gnome get a chance to floor it? Are you allowed?
No, technically no, but she did put it in the sport mode, and then basically
launch control.
No, we didn't do that, although that would have been fun. But she basically like flapped her foot on the accelerator a couple of times, and it was just, I mean, how much is good? Like just sort of like was just like on off, and you just kind of like the whole car is going and like following her foot, and it's like, okay, that's actually really impressive. Because
it's pretty cool.
The regen was on as well, so it was slowing down almost as fast as it was accelerating, and it was like, oh, that's mental.
Nice.
But then, like, the weird thing about the EV6, and this is the thing that's really hard to explain, is that yes, it was super quick, like ridiculously quick, like more so than, I drove the Beamer on the way home, and it was just like, there is no way I can get this thing to perform anything near like that, despite trying. It's that it just gets to that speed without fuss, which is it's a weird sensation, because it just
no ceremony, no like big growling sound.
No,
turbo
it
lag
just you put your foot down and suddenly you're at that speed, and it didn't even feel like it was really pushing you, right? That whole like accelerator accelerative feeling you get from driving a quick car. Like it wasn't super strong, despite the fact it was really accelerating very quickly. And it adds a weird sensation. It's so planted, like it's so solid. Like it doesn't roll, it doesn't push you around as a passenger. It's super comfortable. I mean, it hasn't helped my situation because now I just want one even more.
I mean, that was definitely an element of that in going to test drive.
I mean, sure, yeah, it was that was the
you
risk,
hoping to be put off and be like,
a little bit actually, yeah, like a little bit to be like, oh, this isn't actually that different from a regular ass car. Like maybe that should be what I get to replace my dying vehicles. But no, this has just sold me harder. It's great. It was great. And I wasn't even driving the bloody thing, so I've got a lot to be excited for. Like when I actually do it myself.
Yeah, you get to drive it.
Anyway, that was fun.
Okay, in the future, electric car reviews from Rob.
Yeah, well, one.
I mean, yeah,
I'm not buying more than one. God damn it, not in the near future. Like,
I mean,
I've still got to figure out
cars
how
are falling apart. So
they are falling apart. Yeah,
I think it's going to be necessary.
But even
Mars
so, like,
is going to need to be moved around.
Even so, they're not cheap things. They're not easy ththings to pay for. So it's
no fair.
Figuring out that detail, especially with child, is a little bit more of a challenge than it would have been a while back. But we shall see.
Indeed. Okay,
we shall see. It's good fun. How about that Ahsoka? Hey,
how about that television program? Eh?
That television program. How about them sports?
Them sports haven't started yet, have they?
Oh no, football's always on.
Well, yes, at this time of year, yes.
Sports. Do you want to? Should we? I kind of want to say a few things about Ahsoka because it's a weird show, but like,
yeah, go for it. But I mean, I don't care about spoilers.
Yeah, that was the next question. Do either of you care about spoilers? Because it's like,
no, I think it's all stupid now, so I don't care. I don't care.
What, like all of Star Wars, just
pretty much. I mean, yeah.
I mean, this was a pretty weird show. Like, okay, if like traveling to a secondary galaxy aside, which I guess they did before as part of Clone Wars, I suppose, because that's the whole thing. Like, it's built off the back of the Clone Wars lore.
Right, and it's Mass Effect Andromeda, right? New galaxy,
sort of, yeah. Like it's
they fucked the old galaxy, so you got to go to a new one.
It's not even that bad. Like apparently that was because that's what happened at the end of Clone Wars. I didn't watch Clone Wars or any of that, right. But like so the whole deal was that they managed to send Grand Admiral Thrawn to a completely different galaxy as a way of defeating him. I guess it's like, well, he's not here anymore, so that solves the problem.
The best way to solve a problem.
Yeah,
send him far away. Sure, that won't be a problem in the future at all.
But they lost one of their own in the process because there's always stakes. I suppose there's always a cost. And this new show is about like, oh, he might still be alive in this other galaxy still. Oh, and someone's trying to get him back. Oh, and they might actually be able to succeed because they've built this ridiculous ring that's just covered in hyperdrive engines that actually might be able to do the journey. We probably better stop this, and then of course it falls into the usual stupidity traps of these shows where it's like, well, one person makes the dumbest choices that actually increases the threat. The politics of the world seems to always be against actually stopping bad shit from happening. So there's that going on. There's like, no, this is a really big deal. This guy was like destroying everything. We should probably make sure that that's not going to happen, right? And to which the council just goes, no, you should not do that for no reason at all. It's a waste of resource or something. I don't know. I love that. That's always the excuse. The funniest excuse in Star Wars is like, it's too expensive.
Yeah, after they built 2 Death Stars.
Yeah.
Or 3 Death Stars, I guess.
Yeah,
technically.
It wasn't very well explained why. There was like one guy who was like basically just like really anti Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character, General Hera, from doing anything that seemed like her job. It was weird, and like nothing came of that plot line either. It's not like he was revealed to be a traitor or something, or that the council was like, well, they probably are corrupt.
Probably.
It's in that sort of time frame. It's in the same sort of time frame as or similar time frame as Andor, right? I think, or is it after? No, it's probably after I forget. I get a bit lost. If it's after Clone Wars, then it must be after Andor, right? Quite a long time. But there are some characters that you will have seen in Andor that are in this. And
I don't know how things are.
I get so lost with the timeline now.
Yeah. I don't know how things are in actual Star Wars canon now, but you'd think that, like, in the logic of how Star Wars works, hyperdriving to a different galaxy wouldn't actually be that difficult because there's nothing out there in between them.
I guess, yeah.
Enough to run into.
The void, yeah.
But I'm sure there's some random bullshit explanation why it's actually really hard.
Oh, apparently they need more engines to do it. And
well, that also doesn't make sense.
But the thing is they also need a map that gives them lets them to do the calculations or something to get to where they actually want to go.
I don't like. That's the thing about the whole idea of hyperdrive in Star Wars. Is just like surely if you're the explorer, you're going to be the first one to map out a new route. You just go to somewhere nearby that you know is safe, and then like look right, and then find out where you like. Because stars are kind of obvious. I mean, maybe you still run into a planet or something, but like you could surely just stop and further out and then like narrow it down, right?
I don't
that
know.
Would surely be how Star Wars hyperdrive should work.
They sort of. I mean, they sort of play into like the whole, some of the stuff that was in like Jedi Fallen Order, right? That there is ancient knowledge or Jedi knowledge, or whatever Force aware people knowledge that just hasn't really been passed down like particularly well, like ancient ruins and stuff with stuff in it that could convey messages.
Holocrons.
And they even lean into the whole the witches thing. I've never really fully understood the witches in Star Wars. I don't know. They're in Fallen Order, aren't they? In some sections, and they're back in this, but they're supposedly from this other galaxy or something. I don't really follow. Anyway, long story short, the whole thing I sort of want to talk about is it's a kind of a weird show because they fail. Like the whole season, like they don't succeed. Like Thrawn comes back, Ahsoka and Sabine are stuck in this other galaxy with no way to get back, except maybe they'll probably hitchhike on the space whales again if they come back. Betting. It's all about space whales. And that's kind of where it ends. Like they cock it up. And that's a weird place to sort of end. Like, I mean, it's interesting.
Going to do? Is he going to take over the?
Well, I don't know. Presumably, he's
the Empire.
He's clearly an excellent strategist, so that's why he's a threat, right? And it's
sure.
I guess now he's back and he's got a position and he's still got his position of power. I suppose it's possible he can.
But canon-wise, this is
rebuilding.
Like, so he's got to
come back and go away again.
He's got to go away so that the First Order can come.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
because he's not involved in that. So
he's going to lose eventually.
Well, unless this is all a side plot that never really gets to the grand scale, right? That of the First Order, or
yeah, I mean. I don't know, man. I stop caring.
Wait, so if this is, I'm just trying, like, the timeline, I guess, is important. So it's after Clone Wars, then the first Death Star might not have happened yet, right? So
No. So where are we trying to work out? Ahsoka takes place around the Mandalorian time, which is after Return of the Jedi, right?
Right. So
the rebels have won.
Yeah, so we're still pre-second. Okay, so we're after first Death Star, but pre-second Death Star.
No, it's after everything. So it's after second Death Star destroyed.
Oh, okay.
But like pre.
Sorry, yeah, that's Return of the Jedi. Got you.
Like, so quite a long time before Rey and Finn and all that stuff.
Before
First Order. Yeah. Whereas Andor is before
the
first
Death
start
Star.
of the Rebels. Yeah. So before first Death Star. So it's the building of the first Death Star. Right. It's before Rogue. It's a prequel to Rogue One.
Yeah. It should lead all into that.
Yeah, because he died at the end, right, of Rogue One. Obviously.
yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess he must. Whatever happens to him, he must not succeed, right? I guess that's where the Ahsoka series is going. Like they take him down before he becomes anything useful.
Thrawn. Yeah, I guess. But it could be a more fun story than the, I don't know, sequels, I guess. I don't know. Thrawn's kind of, well, I don't know. I quite like Kylo Ren and all that stuff. That's fine. I mean, as baddies go, he was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Kylo's
Well, I mean, unless this is
and it's Adam Driver as well.
who's
helps.
awesome. So
unless this is just going to end up going full Mass Effect Andromeda, then just going to have like now we can have all these Star Wars stories that take place in an entirely separate galaxy, and therefore we don't have to worry about how this links up canonically for a while.
What's so
they're going to happen in their own.
I mean, maybe that's the plot here that like they just separate from the Thrawn storyline completely. Let Hera deal with that.
Or send Thrawn back to that other galaxy and then just have all those characters go over there.
Well, maybe, but that's
they can do their own thing for a while.
It's not where they're at right now. But anyway, it's just weird because it was quite an unsatisfying. You don't get that satisfying season end feeling from that. But like everyone seems kind of fine with it. Is the weird thing? It's just like, oh, Thrawn's back. And it's like, because the guy they lost is still alive, right? Like he got sent to that other galaxy, as it turns out, to the exact same planet, as it turns out. So they found him and he managed to get back with Thrawn. But yeah, there's Sabine and Ahsoka are left on this planet in the middle of nowhere in an entire other galaxy, and they seem fine about it. It's like you just failed like the one thing you set out to do. Partly, and it's all Sabine's fault ultimately, right? Because she could have chose not to. There's a bit in the midway through the season where she basically gives them the map, like under the pretense she might be able to find that Ezra guy, and it's like, oh, see on. Dooming a whole bunch of people to probable death for one guy, that classic choice, and you're being Jedi trained. Everyone's fine with it at the end. It's all good. It's all cool. It's all water under the bridge. It's like I don't get it. It's like it's not. And there's plenty of moments in the show. Like it's got the classic like stormtroopers are stupid stuff that they seem to keep doing in the current shows, where it's like. You're in a room, you're surrounded by stormtroopers, and like one of them is shooting at a time for some reason, or they surround you like completely in this encampment, and then they all just like shuffle away into cover or something for some reason against one guy. Rather than just shoot the guy, just shoot him. It's not that hard. It's like for some reason they just really play into that. I think it was it the last. Was it the last episode of No, it was probably Obi-Wan or something where there was a bunch of that, where it was just like a whole bunch of stormtroopers storming some sort of walking into a base down one corridor, right? There's just not even a big open area, just one corridor, and no one can shoot anything. And it's like, but you're like 2 feet away from the, like, you're not even far away. It's not even a long corridor.
It's just amoebas, dude.
They lean into that so hard now, and it gets quite annoying. And there are just moments where people just make really stupid decisions. Like even Thrawn, like is supposed to be like this master strategist. At one point, just goes like the whole point is they're loading up, ready to leave with this material that I can't remember what the hell its deal was, but they're loading up their Star Destroyer with this stuff, and it's like we can leave as soon as that's done. And we've basically his entire plan was to delay them enough so they can just go and not worry about it, right? And it's. And then it gets to the point where they seemingly have finished loading up, and then they don't, and then they go, oh, we can leave now. And then they don't for ages. And it's like, what's that about? Like, they could just leave. They could just go. This could have been over a whole 2 episodes ago. They could have failed sooner. It's weird. I wouldn't say it was like unenjoyable, but it's like, it's weird.
No.
And you've got to have Anakin flashbacks. Just saying, they've got to do that because of the Ahsoka and Anakin friendship. Hey, he wasn't such a bad guy.
Well, she was his Padawan. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
He wasn't such a bad guy before he became Darth Vader.
Darth Vader fucking murdered everyone.
God, weird. Anyway, that was Ahsoka. It was
That's Ahsoka.
Also, Gladiators is back. Like the Gladiators.
Yes, but not the Gladiators.
No,
they're all really old now.
They're all pretty old.
I did watch it, and I was like, along with like apparently 6 million other UK viewers.
Really,
like super popular.
Sweet.
But it is like it's weird because it is pretty much the exact same show it used to be. I find it strange that the BBC have taken this on.
Well, yeah,
it was very much
slightly weird part.
It was very much an ITV gig beforehand, but they have kind of replicated. They haven't changed really much. When that's I'm surprised actually. Like they haven't checked. Like all the old games are back. The old structure is the same.
Well,
like,
I mean,
okay, they've replaced the presenters with instead of Ulrika Johnson and whoever that other guy was that said a wooger a lot. No one wanted to say it's Chris Akabusi. It's like I'm pretty sure it's not Chris Akabusi. But anyway, yeah. So instead of them, they've got Bradley Walsh and his son Barney Walsh, which is a slightly weird combo. But they were fine. It was okay. But other than that, it's the same show. It just feels snappier because there's no ad breaks. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, but it is snappy. It does zip through the show pretty quick, and that's also quite unusual because it means they don't stop and have too much sob story stuff. Like they have a little bit of intro at the start of the episode where they obviously introduce the competitors and stuff like that. But then there isn't
do that much in the old.
No, they didn't, and I'm surprised. Like because that's such a thing to do now, right? That's such a modern TV trope. There wasn't any videos of people jumping over cars, though, right? Because that was like always the thing. The competitors would like show it's like, and here's them jumping over a car to show off or something. And there wasn't any of that. One of the females was from female competitors was from Ipswich, so we were like, "Yeah, go Ipswich." She lost. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. But at least there was some fun. It's like she's from Ipswich. Come on.
Now we just wait for, I don't know, ITV to make a new Krypton Factor.
Oh my god, yes! Oh man, I'd be down for that. But they would have to not change very much, right? I don't want them to modernize it in any way. I want them to use like crap, like have puzzles that are on a light box with crappy Perspex pieces on top.
I mean, that was what the cube was, though, right? Basically,
I guess, yeah. With a lot more talking and betting.
Yeah.
But there's no, like, ridiculous obstacle course.
That was such a minor part of that show anyway. That's like, it's the only bit you remember, but then you don't remember all the other parts of that whole show.
I remember the observation challenges, right? It was like, let's watch this stupid video and then ask questions on it. Or, like, the occasions where they would do it, make you watch it twice, but there would be differences. Yeah. Video spot the difference. Compelling television. And I actually don't really remember much else about it, just like those three things: the lightbox puzzle, the obstacle course, and the fact that it would go that beep noise it made at the end of the rounds, which is I think is the same as the one they use on Mastermind. Ultimately, kind of had the same noise, just a beep beep beep. I think. I'm not even sure about that now I've said it. And of course the theme tune. Get those Orch hits in.
Who invented the Orch hit?
Someone with some sampler manufacturer, I'm sure.
Some sampler person, yeah. Someone in Japan.
Who would you get to present it, though?
Well, it's on ITV, so Ant and Dec.
No, you could get Ant and Dec to do a serious.
No, you couldn't.
It's not that serious.
It's a little bit serious.
Only about as serious as Gladiators, really.
It's way more serious than Gladiators. It's like the Mastermind, but with different things to do. Because the set was always like super dark, right, as well, and they didn't talk to the competitors really. It was just like, here, do a thing.
I watched Mastermind the other day because Andy Zaltzman, one of my favourite comedians, was on it. And his specialist subject, he chose the sculptor Auguste Rodin. Oh. You know, the one who sculpted the Thinker. You know, where he's like, so he did the entire round posed with
wow,
this thinking.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
And he won.
Oh, nice.
Celebrity Mastermind. Anyway, it was funny. He was just posed like that for the entire thing in the chair.
That's pretty funny. For some reason, like I always like it's clearly not, but like because I always think of cogito ergo sum, right? Because that's like because for some reason that phrase is always pictured next to someone doing the thinker, I guess.
Doing the pose.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that phrase must predate Rodin, right?
by
like millennia, probably. Yeah,
yeah, millennia. Yeah.
It's got quite highbrow suddenly.
That might not be true.
Gladiators.
That might be like, because it's not like Latin wasn't still a thing that people used when they wanted to be fancy in much more recent times than the actual Latin.
Well, no, but it was like a full-on philosopher accredited thing.
I
right?
feel like that might have been something someone in France came up with.
Fact check. It's only 200 years.
Yeah, that's what I suspect.
Cogito.
Just because it's Latin doesn't mean it's old.
It does.
Just means someone was trying to be fancy.
And it was Descartes, who was indeed French.
Oh, wow. Okay. The French
wrote up.
French. Kind of obvious.
What do you mean, kind of obvious? Like, I thought it was going to be like Plato or
You're
something.
thinking of Veni
like
Vidi Vici, right? That is old, right?
Yeah. I thought it was going to be like one of the greats. Like,
it's a different
Descartes is a bit
type of philosophy.
Sure, but one of the
Yeah, he's not an ancient philosopher.
like it would his name would end in Aeus or something.
Yeah, all the Aeuses.
Amadeus. I don't even know. Amadeus probably wasn't even.
Rock me, Amadeus. Okay, that's highbrow corner. TV, low and high.
That was what I watched on TV. Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Gnome's been watching Saltburn, but she hasn't actually cast an
What
opinion.
is that?
I have no idea.
Is that a TV show? Is that a film?
I think it's a TV show, but
okay. I'm not sure. I've seen things about it, and I'm not sure I could be bothered.
No,
it's one of those ones where I'll probably come back to it I've just afterwards.
Just totally not on my radar. But
no,
might have been a film actually. I don't know.
I watched Poor Things yesterday, which was that Oscar buzz.
Oh right, yeah.
Emma Stone. Yeah, it was amazing. And super weird in a really and funny. And Mark Ruffalo was super hamming it up.
Do you like a bit of Ruffalo?
But yeah, if you see the warning screen in front of it, like 18 rated, strong sex, it says. And it's like, that's accurate. Strong. There's been, this year,
just a lot of beef on the show.
Exactly, super strong.
Sex.
There've been some crazy good. I didn't think when I saw Oppenheimer, like in the year, that there would be two films better than that I would see before the Oscars even came around. Like I think Killers of the Flower Moon, the Scorsese film, was really good, and this was also really, really good. So yeah, very strong year for the Oscars.
I don't actually sure. Like. There's been obviously I've been sort of looking ahead to 2024 a little bit in terms of games, like thinking about like what's going on for the Fantasy Critic League, obviously.
Whenever we actually start that, probably too late for Tekken 8 or whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, it might be pretty close. Definitely too late for Prince of Persia because that's like out.
Yeah, too late for Prince of Persia.
Yeah, we'll sort that out very shortly. But I need to redeem myself after my god awful 2023 result.
Reigning champ.
I've had one win, one loss for me? Was it 2 second places for you, Zach? Like so far in the league, something like that.
Well, Dan won both of them.
Oh, I thought I won the first year. Oh.
No, I won. It was pretty close, but I've won both so far.
Oh, that's disappointing. I forgot. I totally lost my. Oh yeah, no. But I was seeing some threads that I then didn't read about. Oh, this is going to be a really good year for film, and I'm like,
yeah,
really? Okay. I can't say I know. What Aquaman 2,
Dune Part 2.
Well, I suppose,
no, Aquaman 2 was a bomb, wasn't it?
Was it? I've no idea.
Yeah, it bombed. It came out.
I watched that first one. That first one was weird. Like, not.
It actually made a lot of money. Apparently, the first.
Oh, sure, Jason Momoa.
Well, I guess, but it didn't seem to work the second time around.
Yeah. Well, I guess Momoa being on screen was kind of still a novelty at that point? Had he only been in that and
Game of Thrones?
Well, yeah, or what's the other DC film? Justice League, I suppose.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a strange film. It was fun. And Momoa was cool generally. Yeah, so Dune. Other than that, I don't really know what else has happened. Sonic 3.
Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The cultural highlight of 2024. Is it this year?
Maybe. Probably,
I mean, without Jim Carrey, I don't know how it's going to scale the heights of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sure. I don't know.
Is there another Detective Pikachu film?
Oh yeah, well, yeah. Supposedly that's coming. I don't think they've said when that's coming out, but supposedly there is another Detective Pikachu film.
Well, we'll see. All right, shall we do the lack of news? What's going on in January?
That Legend of Zelda film.
Oh God!
But don't forget the Minecraft film.
Of the Minecraft film, yeah. That's news, I suppose. That's like the one bit of news we have, like almost. Jack Black has been cast as Steve.
Which means Steve is going to talk in this film. Presumably a lot.
Well, hopefully. Because you can never have enough Jack Black. Also, that probably means there's going to be a musical number. Because that's kind of the thing, right? Like, whenever the Jack Black is playing anyone, there has to be a musical number.
I guess.
He has to be.
Anyway, Steve. And Jason Momoa is in that film as well.
But as who?
Yeah, as Mystery Dude.
The bad guy?
Well, maybe.
Who is even going to be the bad guy of the Minecraft movie?
The dragon thing?
Well, sure. I mean, that would be the actual answer, but somehow I don't know if that'll work in a film. Also, the dragon in Minecraft is canonically female, so...
Okay, so it's not Jason Momoa. Yeah, I don't know. I just legitimately don't know enough about Minecraft, I suppose, to know what the hell they're going to do with this thing.
Well, that is the problem. Is just like that's why you had the Telltale games made up their whole own story.
Sure.
But
maybe that's a good thing, right? Because it is blank slate. There's nothing to hold them back particularly.
That's where the risk is, though, because you could make any old bullshit in there and people won't like it. Probably. That's probably part of the reason why Minecraft Dungeons and Minecraft whatever that other one was called screwed up.
What was that other one called?
No, I don't remember. Legends? Yeah. No.
Maybe, yeah. Or it released last year.
Yes, it released last year. And we've already forgotten. And so has everyone else.
Seemingly.
But yes, even official Minecraft things that go slightly off. It's like the Telltale thing is almost that succeeded because it went further. Like the official Minecraft stuff, which tries to stay relatively close to the original, is like, yeah, but then no one likes that.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? Like, because Legends and in some respects, there's no real reason why Legends and Dungeons shouldn't have worked.
Well, I mean, apart from the actual gameplay part being not great or whatever.
Maybe, yeah. But do you think that was exacerbated by the Minecraft attachment? That it's just this isn't. You can't just put Minecraft aesthetic onto a thing and give it the full name and then expect it to do well.
Yes, the Minecraft aesthetic doesn't cover for a bad gameplay, certainly.
Because I actually sort of thought, okay, Dungeons might have been a bad fit. I can see that now. Because there isn't none of the Minecraftiness can really make sense in Dungeons, right? There isn't a lot of building you can do.
Well, I mean,
at least in Legends, or whatever that game was called, I'm going to call it Legends. Yep. There at least were building mechanics, right?
But you could have made the building part of the dungeon crawl because it would basically just be like slotting gems in Diablo or whatever. That would be you'd craft the weapons out of parts.
Just scream.
Well, you wouldn't have to be giant. It would just be the stats would be changed depending on what materials you used or whatever.
Maybe, yeah.
There's ways to fit that into the Minecraft aesthetic somewhat.
I guess make it more crafting focused than normal.
Yeah. or go full like I don't know, more roguelike and actually build the dungeons. Where it's like you get like blueprints for certain parts of dungeons that you can insert or something.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah. Like there are gaps in the dungeon that that you're allowed to fill in or something, and you can fill them in from your pool of stuff that you've. It would be like a deck. I suppose it's more like a deck builder, but
I mean, they did do that in Zelda, right? They did the dungeon crafting thing in the remake of whatever that game was. Not Link to the Past, the other one.
You think it Link Between Worlds?
No. What was it called? What's that game called?
The remake, the one, the Unreally one on Switch.
That had the dungeon maker, right? Yeah, Link's Awakening. That had the dungeon maker where you could rearrange the little dungeon rooms to make your own dungeon. It wasn't actually very good, but that's the concept, I guess. Maybe they could have, but they didn't. No. Well, that's the thing. It's just like probably the actual real problem with those games was like under ambition, where it's just like we made something real simple and then just slapped Minecraft on it.
or we were like, how they probably came at it from the other angle, right? They were like, what do they call it? I was something on Second Wind was talking about this exact design philosophy, these two design philosophy differences, like bottom up versus top down,
right?
Where bottom up is you focus on the gameplay mechanics and then figure out how to build an aesthetic and a world and stuff around it, but ultimately gameplay is key. And then top down is is Avatar, right? Where it's like you've got an IP and you've already got an aesthetic that you need to munge a game into,
right?
And Minecraft, I think, has been top down on everything except Minecraft itself.
But Avatar is like it. That's true, but they had Far Cry, which was bottom up, arguably from the very beginning of Far Cry.
Yeah, at the very beginning, sure.
So it's not like it was completely top down from scratch.
No, like you can't say any top down game is really because it has to be built upon something.
Yeah.
Or, you're cribbing average ass ideas from something else.
I feel like something like Watch Dogs or something is pretty top down.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, or I mean, most Ubisoft titles you could argue are that these days, right? It's like, we've got these open world engines. What do we do with it? Oh, we've got that Star Wars license now. Let's make Star Wars Outlaws, or whatever that game's called.
I still think that looks good. I'm going to pick that for the league if I get a chance.
It might be all right. It might be, that and Jedi seem to be potentially holding up the Star Wars games front reasonably well.
I mean, Jedi is from a quality developer and seems like a quality thing, but I'm not really interested. Whereas
unless you buy the PC version.
Yeah. Right, sure.
Which apparently is still garbage.
Which is weird because I'm sure Respawn made a decent.
Titanfall 2 on PC was perfectly fine.
Too. Yeah.
Apex Legends on PC is perfectly fine.
And you'd think it would be, I don't know. It's Unreal Engine as well.
It's Unreal Engine
to make it run well. Anyway, but Outlaws, just I don't know, just the ideas in it. Like maybe the execution will fall down, but it's more interesting to me than Jedi.
Maybe. I don't know. But my problem with it is that it's made by Ubisoft to an extent, and the bit in my head just goes, it's going to be another open world game from Ubisoft. And I'm going to be
another Far Cry game, basically.
Or another Assassin's Creed or something like that. I'm just going to be doing the same old stuff, just with a new set dressing.
Yeah.
How,
Or Bethesda, I guess. Like Starfield is suffering from that, right? Where it's like it's another one of those games, just with a different set dressing, and perhaps some of the, because it's not got proper traversal, like it's actually less cool as a whole, even if their aesthetic is rad. But I don't know. Anyway, that whole thing, that was I think it was, I don't know. It was on Second Wind. It's their sort of game design talks that they do, and it was an interesting idea or an interesting thing to think about. I guess if you're ever playing a licensed game, it's like it does skew your design philosophy. Is there anything else going on?
Really?
I mean, we can talk about layoffs at Unity.
Layoffs,
yeah. I mean, there's plenty of stuff going on that front. Go look it up if you. But the Unity is the one that stood out to me. Like because it's like nearly 2,000 people. That's a lot of people. It's like a quarter of Unity, which is bonkers. And also, this has to be Fallout, right? From the John Riccatello stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And such a bummer. I'm actually kind of like it's that whole situation is super annoying. Not just because of like the fact that they screwed up and all that stuff, like that's obvious, but the fact that like games need competing engines.
Yeah,
and like Unity and Unreal. Unity isn't Unreal. Like that's I think that's fair to say, but it's in terms of tech progress. But if you were going to make a third party, use a third party engine and not build your own, then or don't have the resources to build your own, you want some options to look at. And if Unity goes by the wayside and starts to decline, I really don't know what else is out there that fills the void in the same way. Like people talk about,
there are alternatives.
There are alternatives. Like there's like Godot or Godot or whatever has been talked about a fair amount since the Fallout, but I don't think that's as an advanced system.
But it's completely free and open source, right?
So sure.
They don't have. I'm sure a lot of people work hard on making it good, but it doesn't have that commercial incentive to, work full time on the tools.
As much as Unity are the bad guys, and probably will continue to be the bad guys, and Unity and I bet Unreal will want to cash in on this at some point as well, and be like, well, we can raise prices now because we've not got a competition anymore. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Unreal
it's a bad place to be.
Cheap as it stands.
Oh well,
but yeah,
it's not super cheap, but it's also not unreasonable compared to what Unity's plans were.
Yeah.
I guess talking about engines vaguely reminded me of one other bit of news, I guess, which is just like randomly at the start of the year, Valve has decided to shut down basically all the community projects that were currently going, like Portal 64 and what was the other one? TF2 Source 2?
Source 2,
yeah.
Whoa.
They've just gone around to basically all of the current community things and just been like, no, cease and desist time.
That's surprising. Because Valve have always been kind of all about this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Portal 64 one maybe makes sense because he was at the point of being like, this is like, I'm making an actual Nintendo cartridge with Valve IP on it, which is like, yeah, maybe that one has gone far enough.
I mean, if he doesn't sell it,
I'm sure.
Then what can you do? If it's not a commercial, if it's not a for-profit business, then what's that? What really is the harm in that one in particular? It's not like he's making a brand new game. I
would bet Nintendo's probably not super happy about people remaking their old hardware for reals either.
Again, I don't know okay, Nintendo getting involved would make a bit more sense, but like, because I think it makes sense from a business perspective, but because it's Nintendo.
Yes.
Like for Valve to do this, that's nuts. Because what are Valve? Valve aren't even really game makers.
Well, yeah, it's like, where did this come from? That's the question. It's just like, why now, suddenly, all of them? Like, it's not like they've picked them off gradually over time, but they've just done this huge random dump at this one specific time at the start of this year. Because
what do Valve really do at the moment? They've got Dota 2 and Counter-Strike 2, and that's kind of it. Yes, right, like in terms of active games, like okay, TF2 is still running, but I wouldn't call it inactive.
Yes,
development.
That's like one guy maintaining that.
It's probably more than one guy, but still, yeah, it's not a lot, not a big thing. That's infuriating, actually. I mean, I'm incensed.
I mean, the only possible reason, obviously, because the conspiracy must be that they're planning on doing something.
They're planning on sizing up, yeah.
They're planning on starting something, so they've got to shut down all these other projects that seem random, but maybe they're not.
I mean,
I did see a legit thing going on, which is one of those NVIDIA RTX conversions. It's official conversions of Half-Life 2, right?
Right.
They're doing a, path traced.
cool.
And there's been some path traced Half-Life 2, and there's a video showing Ravenholm in RTX on.
They should have started with Lost Coast.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because they did Portal and stuff, and that is like super punishing, right? Isn't it?
Any of these are.
Yeah,
all ray tracing.
But now they're doing Half-Life 2. Yeah, probably should have done Lost Coast, and it's not as famous. Not many people played.
But it's
Lost
famous
Coast
for specifically the reason why you'd want RTX to work.
Yeah,
specifically
for all
a
the HDR
graphics
stuff.
demo.
Yeah. But Ravenholm is cool, so it's pretty moody in the full.
Yes, I suppose you've got a lot of chances for shadows
Yeah,
to happen in
light
Ravenholm, because
dynamic,
that was how it was originally.
Indeed.
Just not real.
Yeah, I know it wouldn't make a great. It's probably not a great ray tracing demo. But maybe it was just like, well, actually, like if they did proper water stuff on the boat sections,
Improve the airboat
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, but you wouldn't see it though.
no, it wouldn't. It would be subtle, but it would probably look cool.
Well, we'll be playing Half-Life 2, I'm sure, this year, since it's the anniversary.
Apparently,
We'll
yes.
probably be doing
Yeah.
Unless we want to
Let's
play for the 25th anniversary, like people keep doing.
Well, yeah, marketing seem to prefer 25 over 20 for some reason. But...
We already did Half-Life at the 20.
Yes, we do have to. We have to
I think
continue
it's
that.
time.
Maybe we play that new Beyond Good and Evil remastered collection. God damn it, we got ahead. We were too early.
Yes.
I'm doing that lip
Yeah, you
smacking
did it
thing.
right then.
Yeah,
it's the news.
we talked about this before the podcast, and like how lip smacking can be quite annoying. And I just did it just offhand, like just
Shit happens.
But I don't think there's any more news, really. That was pretty much it.
yeah.
It's time for What Have You Been Playing, Zach?
Not that much this time. I think we've sort of caught up on my backlog of talking about things.
Right, yeah.
Mostly. I played the whole of Cocoon in like one go.
Because it's like 6 hours long,
Yeah,
right?
'cause it's not.
On Game Pass.
Yes,
Nice.
Good, right?
it's fine, I guess.
Oh, what?
Oh.
It's like very uncomplicated, and like they
It's
could have
not
gone.
super hard,
They could
no.
have gone much further with the mechanics in several ways that I already thought of.
I agree with that. There's some cool mechanics at the end that sort of make you think like, oh, they could do a whole bunch with this, and then they sort of don't.
Yeah.
But that's kind of that game all over. It's like they're quite like, let's introduce a mechanic, and it very much doesn't outstay its welcome. Like,
Well, but there isn't any mechanics to introduce, really. That's sort of the problem. There's like that. I guess there's three mechanics, I guess, and one of them is the whole main point of the entire game.
sure.
And then there's like two sub mechanics. But yeah, it's like, and also it's also simplified by the fact that it's so 100% linear. Like,
Yes.
doors are constantly closing behind you, so there's no ambiguity about maybe you did something in a weird order or anything. It's just like if the platform goes away, you know you're never going to go back.
Yeah. You've gone that- which is a bit of a problem if you're trying to find all of the hidden dudes. I forget what they're called.
Sure,
like,
but those aren't even super hidden either.
no, they're and there's actually like signs
Yeah.
that you start to know. You know, after you found a couple of them, you'd be like, oh right, this is the indicator that there's a secret nearby. I assume you didn't work out whatever the super secret is, because I didn't go back and try and figure out what that was.
I don't know if I noticed it really, apart from the dudes. I mean, obviously getting all the dudes and then they show up in that one room at the end and that's about it.
Yeah.
But that's not really a secret indicator.
No, there is apparently a secret ending, but it's properly hardcore again.
But yeah, there was some real obvious ways that they could have made the mechanics way more like sort of specific, because like they have the one mechanic where it's like basically you're shooting a gun through the worlds.
Oh yeah, that's neat.
That's the one. That's the one time that they do that. But like that whole concept could have gone way further, right? Because like you should have been like you put one of the worlds into the rainy world, and then the rain goes through into that other world. Like that's what the shooting the gun into the orb implies, right? Is that things can pass through.
Things go through, yeah.
So if you take something into the green world where it's all rainy, the rain should transmit down.
Oh yeah, they could have used that as an extra environmental trick.
And then you could have taken that to like each of the different worlds could have had a different effect, like wind in the dusty world or whatever. And then depending on the order you stack them, it could combine in some way.
Yeah, potentially.
And if you wanted to, you could maybe even, it would be way more complicated, but you could have had like gravity. So like those times when you attach the orbs to walls, that could shift the gravity in that world in some way.
Maybe.
That would be way more difficult to manage puzzle wise.
I also don't know that you have a lot, the game is designed to only be like one stick, one button.
Well, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if that would start to mess with that a little.
But yes, there was opportunities to do more with that mechanic, I think. But yeah, it was fine.
Okay. I thought it was really cool. And I agree with a lot of outlets sort of saying that, hey, maybe some of the best sound design of the year.
I guess. Didn't really notice anything.
It's just a lovely cohesive whole.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
The thunk when you move between worlds is obviously cool because it's very punctuated compared to the rest of the audio landscape of that game, right? So when you actually do jump between worlds and you get that landing thump, like it's cool and you feel it. But it's just everything is really, really lovely and subtle. Like, I don't know, like when the spoilers, I suppose, slightly. When the orange power, I won't say what, but when the orange power, it's doing its thing and it's building the platforms, and you get that lovely crystalline sort of noise as stuff is appearing and stuff like that. It's all very subtle, but it's there, and I appreciate it. Obviously, just the super glowy look of everything, or shiny look of everything, is neat as well. As is standard for me, though. Boss fights, yeah.
Well, I mean,
not a highlight of that game.
Game's not meant to be about boss fights, and that's the classic problem of like having a random
change of pace,
non-puzzle mechanic in a puzzle game.
Having a change of pace, yeah, definitely not the highlight for me. But that's I just generally feel that way about boss fights in most games. I'm learning. Like I say, I'm learning. I think I've known for a very long time. It's just like, I don't know, boss fights for me aren't. I want the spectacle, but I don't necessarily want their mechanics. They're most of the time annoying.
I don't know if I've ever liked boss fights apart from with the possible exception of Zelda.
Yeah, I mean those are moments, aren't they? They're like events in Zelda. Like they're not often mechanically awkward.
Well, I mean the whole point of Zelda bosses was, in the old way of doing it, was like obviously it's about using the one item you get, and therefore you're not trying to work out what the boss is while you're fighting it or whatever, and then losing and then having to restart. It's like, oh well, I know this boss is going to require me to use this one thing.
There isn't so much of that. Yeah, I agree with that. It's more guided.
I don't particularly like Mario bosses necessarily, or at all particularly.
Really
I mean, the Odyssey ones were decent.
They were alright. Well, I don't know. They made them alright by making them easy.
Sure, but I mean, it's a Mario game.
Well, yeah, but the platform isn't always easy.
And then they at least gave you harder versions later.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, obviously the annoying Mario ones was like Mario 64, right? Because trying to work out the physics of spinning Bowser around and timing the release was actually really annoying at the time.
That's just one boss, really.
Yeah.
Well, but the trouble was that like it never got any easier. Like learning the timing of that you never really did. It's like
right.
It's just you had to kind of do it by feel every time.
And it was.
But that's okay. It's worth it for the audio design of So Long, Bowser. Obviously.
And it was a little bit punishing because if you got that wrong and didn't hit the explosive part on the arena as well. Yeah.
Yes, because you actually did have to aim. It wasn't just chucking him off the platform. It was chucking him at a very specific point on the edge of the platform.
It's like because they need something climactic.
They need a moment.
Climactic? Yeah. Climactic. But I think but Zelda's the only one that really pulls off actually somewhat fun sometimes bosses, as well as being climactic and cool.
Yeah, it's like Sonic, right? Because like Sonic has the same problem. Like the boss fights in Sonic games are generally just a roadblock, right? They're not super tough. Every now and then you get one that does suck a little bit. Like, I don't know, that Sonic 3 Hydro City Act 2 boss. I think it's Act 1.
They're just waiting around a bunch.
Yeah, he's just spinning the water and there's nothing you can do during that sequence, but actually to get out of the water and hit him, that window is so small and so awkward.
Yeah.
That's just a rubbish boss. But then there's the ones where it's Sonic Mania actually does. There's like, I think it's the Metal Sonic, the big form of Metal Sonic, where he's got like it's a little bit like the boss from Death Egg from Sonic 3, where he's like a big robot crunching the level as he's coming at you. But like the hit zones around the arms and what you're actually allowed to hit and stuff like that is really not clear. And I'm picking out the bad examples because most of the time a Sonic boss is fine. Like you immediately understand what you need to do, and it's like, oh, that's okay, cool. I can just. Or you'll fuck up a couple of times, and then you'll just pick up a ring and be like, okay, I know not to do that now.
Yeah.
Like as long as you don't lose your ring, it's fine.
And it's also not like there's much variance in how Sonic fights things.
No,
you wait for the opening and then you jump at it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
yeah,
and they're fine. Like I have no beef with those generally.
I guess in the modern world, like God of War does good bosses, but it's really just a spectacular sequence. The actual boss part of it isn't necessarily great. I suppose you did all the Valkyries and stuff. I guess they count as bosses.
Oh, did you not?
Yeah, I didn't do every Valkyrie, no.
Oh, right. Yeah, I did them all in the first God of War. Yeah, and I did a couple of them far too early because I didn't peg the whole colour of the health bar thing. Yeah. You know, where it warned you, because it went like purple or something, and I thought that was just boss coloured. And then
that's like...
And that's like, this is the worst thing you could be doing right now.
Yeah.
Because didn't it go like red when it was like... Didn't it go like red when it was like dangerous? And I'd seen that, and I'd been like, okay, I'll avoid that guy. But it went purple, and I'm like, oh, that must be boss colour. or something.
Right,
and then bashed my head against this boss for ages, thinking I could take it. And I did eventually take it.
But you can do it, of course, to the credit of the game. It's possible. But yeah,
but good God, that was like
under-leveled.
That was like the hard... Yeah, doing that was probably the hardest thing I've done in video games for a very long time.
Yeah.
That was obscene.
Yeah. It's like basically a Dark Souls situation.
It was great though. Like once I did it, I was like, oh hell yeah. The endorphin rush was
like
great.
Dark Souls, right? Yeah.
But I was getting so angry with it during the process. Like it wasn't a bad fight. Like that was the thing. Like it was actually a really great fight.
Exactly.
And so while it was annoying me that I couldn't do it and how hard it was and how surprisingly hard that was. Obviously, because I was doing it too early.
I'd say God of War is pretty good on the old boss sitch.
Yeah, no, I've got no problems there. The last boss on Hi-Fi Rush I didn't like that much. If I'm being honest, I love Hi-Fi Rush, but that last boss is a bit of an ass. Sorry, derailed. Boss fights.
Well, I haven't played that yet still. Still waiting on that one.
Boss Fight's the game.
Well,
no, Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes, not quite.
No, yeah, you should play Hi-Fi Rush. It's good.
I played the full version of Timberborn, I guess. That beaver colony sim.
Right.
Coincidentally, a different game which has beavers and also a colony. Not Against the Storm, where they're just one of the races. This one is only about beavers.
Okay.
But yeah.
Not enough beaver action in video games. That came out wrong. But not enough beaver.
Well, I mean, there is now, with these two games coming out.
You've played Sim and now it's time for
pretty much. Beaver. Apart from it's not the beaver part has not very much to do with it really. Like the fact that they're beavers is very slight in terms of the actual game.
Poor, okay.
That's not enough stripy tails.
Oh, you make dams, and that's like the main part of it. Obviously, is controlling the water so you can survive the dry season. But it's not like beaver dams; they're just like blocks. It's just like they've learned how to use planks,
bricks. Are beaver tails even stripy, or are they just like flat and
I don't know in real life. They're always represented as having a pattern on them.
I sort of just like in my I can't make up my mind whether they're that sort of
crisscross,
a bit more tanuki, or a bit more like a grilled steak in cartoon form or something.
No, I think they're flat and dark and like leaf shaped, aren't they? Sort of not leaf, but I don't know, like wider at the end and rounded.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's like the fact that these are beavers is almost irrelevant. Although the one thing that I still manage to keep forgetting every time I've tried to play this game is like they can swim. It's like you don't need to build bridges,
right.
Just build a staircase that goes into the water, and they're totally fine. They can even build stuff like while they're swimming, so you don't even need to worry about that.
Right, cool.
Which is helpful for dealing with all this water that you need to deal with. But the problem, the problem with that game is that there's like the progression is sort of non-existent. Like it has a science, like it has an unlock tree where you start with like the inventor's hut, which makes a tiny trickle of science, and then you can later upgrade to like the observatory, which makes way more. Except the problem with that is that what you actually do is just don't research anything with the inventor's hut until you unlock the observatory, and then just skip to the much higher science output. It's like there's no reason to waste your tiny trickle of research on anything apart from unlocking the observatory and immediately skipping to the much higher science rate. And that kind of extends to everything in the science tree because it's a fully optional. It's not like a branching tree, it's a flat tree. Like everything you can unlock, it just costs more or less points depending on how high tech the thing is.
You don't have to take the steps.
Yeah, so there's no actual progression to it. It's just like you just wait until you have the points and then you get the thing.
What do you want? Yeah, you can have that.
So yeah, that's sort of one of the problems, and then that sort of combines with the other problem of just being like because there's no progression in the tech tree, there's no real progression in the actual, like, way you play the game. So once you've got past the, like, surviving part, where you've got the water under control enough to survive the droughts, and you've got enough food in the wet area near the water, so you can continuously grow food and wood and whatnot, then, like, you've basically solved that game. And then the only thing beyond that is just, like, making the beavers as happy as possible by basically producing every good or whatever, make every different type of food, make every different type of entertainment building. But like there's no purpose to that. Like you're not really doing anything except just adding more buildings and adding more beavers and that.
Right, so there's no real like end goal?
No. And there's no real like threats beyond the start.
Right, so what's the point?
Well, it's just like
what's the game here? Can you like run out of resources? Can you like SimCity yourself into debt or like
kind of, but not really? Like obviously there are infinite sources for trees obviously you just grow. So a lot of the stuff that's made of wood, obviously that's infinite. And then the food, same thing. It's just like as long as that's where the water management comes in, because if you can keep the water on the map so it constantly irrigates the surrounding area, then that's where you can grow your food and trees and whatnot all year, providing there's still water there. But then once you've solved that, it's like you're basically done. And then so like really it seems like in the later game the only thing to do is just make things more fancy. Like on the late game of the save that I was playing, I was just like, well, there's this big flat area that's like quite far away from the river, so I can use the explosives to dig an entirely new channel and have a giant irrigation path that irrigates all of this land, and then I can build some giant farms. But like, why? Because at that point, my population was like enough to run all my buildings, and I'd already unlocked everything in the tech tree. It was just like, well, why would I need to build a whole bunch of new farms and get a bunch of new population? Because there's nothing else left to do. I've already solved all the problems in this one tiny area. So this huge ass map with all these other possibilities for diverting water through is like there's no point to it apart from just to do it, just to be fancy.
Right.
Which isn't really enough, I don't think. It's like it's survival until it turns into a sandbox, which is very quickly it does that.
Right, yeah. You basically win the game super early, and then it's like, yeah, okay, now you can just chill.
Yes. I mean, they are this game is still being updated, and it's still in early access technically. But like the next big update that's about to come out, I believe, they're trying to solve the solving it problem by making like there's going to be instead of just drought and wet season, there's now going to be the occasional season where the water turns bad. So if you basically have to have a second version of your flood control for the bad water, where it's like during that season, change the floodgates around and divert all the bad water out of the way so it doesn't poison everyone or whatever. So it's like it's one more layer to the solving the problem with the water, but that also may not last very long, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. That game's fine. I mean, it's nicely functional, and it does do some fairly advanced things with like how the construction system works. With like you can build platforms to build like raised walkways, and obviously that's important for building dams or whatever. But like a lot of the buildings that have flat tops, you can just stack on top of each other, so you can build like multi-story things. And it has like mechanical power that can transmit through different buildings and all that kind of stuff, water wheels. So if you control the river to make and it's actually based on like the flow rate, so you can like narrow the channel to make the water go faster, so the water wheels are better and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's like it seems like you kind of solve the problems of that game quite quickly.
Like, have I talked about this on the podcast before? Like. So all this talk about beavers,
yeah,
it just reminded me. Like there was a TV show in like the early 90s or late 80s or something like that, where like called Gophers. Do you remember this at all? It was like a combination of live action acting of people dressed as gophers and living next to like suburban two houses basically. Like the gophers live in one house and the some rabbits live in the house next door, and they're like the uptight neighbors or something. And there's some like bizarre storyline about some mad scientist wanting something that's under the gophers' house or something, and there was a talking zucchini at one point. And like no, not ringing any bells.
No. I was just thinking of the Angry Beavers.
No, it's not the Angry Beavers, no. Daggy.
Daggy.
Candy. Yeah, look. I was just looking it up to make sure I wasn't just going completely mad and that I remembered this thing. It totally exists.
Okay. Take your word for it.
Gophers.
And then the only other thing that I played, apart from some Rocket League, of course, which I've back in Leventown, Leventown Central. I played some more of Dyson Sphere program, going back to that and the combat thing. Haven't really got into any more of the combat still. Still seems like I've just like figured out the plan to just avoid it, but I've reached the point where I wanted to like basically move to the real base. Like forget all that old shit I've already built. Let's build the real one. Which I used to do by moving to a planet that was tidally locked, so you could just get full solar on one side and use that as the power source for the whole star system, basically. And then Dyson Sphere that star. Because often the tidally locked planets are around like blue stars, which put out more power anyway, so it's more beneficial to build the Dyson Sphere there. So that's what I usually did, and I was fortunately in this save found a system that has that the enemies hadn't populated yet, so I could just like build without having to worry about defenses, and then it's just like, oh, this is just back to the normal game. And then so now that I've got like the warp drive, so I can move around between these different star systems and deal with that, you reach the still even weirder part of the enemies where like they send seed ships between systems to spread to new systems, and you can intercept them in the space between the star systems and just destroy them, but they're totally defenseless. So it's super easy. You just fly there. The hardest part is actually managing to come out of warp close enough to them, because you're just like flying at them. You're just flying in a direction at like 0.2 light years a second or whatever, and you have to just pop out of your warp drive directly onto them. Because when you're warping between stars, as you start to come close to a star system, your warp drive automatically slows down. So the closer you get to like the star, it starts dropping down, and then once you start coming into the planets, it drops down even further. So you can pretty much just keep your aim directly on a planet and just warp directly onto it. But with these seeds out in between the stars, where your warp drive doesn't automatically spool down, you're just having to just really precisely try and drop it, which is kind of awkward.
Manually, like just be like,
yeah, just turn it off. And it's made much more difficult by the weird, like the crazy warping effect, which makes it hard to see what you're looking at. And you're really just looking at a dot. Because at first, obviously, it's like an icon because it's far away. And you have like this, you can turn on a targeting line on anything in space that gives you a direction to point at, which is helpful for just jumping between planets. But you can do that for the seeds as well. But like, once you start getting close and you're just looking at a single pixel in this weird warping effect, and you're trying to keep an eye on your range indicator that's telling you how far away it is to hit the button at the right moment to pop out a warp on top of it.
It's like trying to like precisely put like 20 quid of petrol in your car.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
But yeah, that's probably the hardest part of getting those. But once you get on it, it's like they don't even have any defenses or anything. You just shoot them and they die.
Okay.
And then it takes like some amount of time for them to be spawned.
What do you need these for? What are these seeds even for?
That's for the enemies spreading to a new system.
Oh, I see.
Like if they totally don't have any presence at all, they fire them out of the other systems that they've occupied periodically. But yeah, that seems relatively slow. So once I'd got to this new system that I was trying to build this new base in, which was unoccupied, I was like, well, let me just quickly fly around the vicinity and clear out any seeds that happen to be flying around nearby that I can quickly warp to. And then every time the one that I have to look out for is like the system that I've occupied, there's a seed on the way to it, but it's coming from like way over the other side of the galaxy. So it's going to take like hours to get here. So I have to keep an eye on that just to make sure I don't forget. And then it like sneaks in while I'm not looking.
Is that something you could just build defenses for? So
no, because those are like, because it's outside the star system, you can't automatically defend against that. I'm not sure you can even automatically do anything about the actual hives. Like, if you let it come into the system and form a hive, I don't think there's any way to automate defending against that.
Right.
You actually physically have to do it yourself to kick them out, which I still haven't done, because I still haven't unlocked all the upgrades to the space fleet.
Right, so they still own you.
Yes. I fly anywhere near it, I just die. But yeah,
But are they still useful? For putting holes in planets or that?
Well, yeah, there's that, and like as I think I said before, like once the enemies level up a certain amount, they start dropping actual drops when they die, so you can theoretically harvest that as well. But the scaling on that seems weird, because you can look at like basically the drop chart that tells you what the enemies will drop, and in there you can actually toggle it on and off. So if you don't want some garbage that they're dropping, you can just say don't make them drop that any longer.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of nice. But like, so that scaling, that list of things they can drop goes from like level 3 to like level 25 plus or whatever. So it maxes out at level 25. And even at the point that I'm at, this is all on default settings, like the point of the game that I'm at, which is sort of, I would say like late mid game, I suppose. The base in my home systems are only at like level 5. So they're nowhere near this super high level. And I mean, obviously I haven't been aggroing them intentionally, because that seems to be the way to do it. So I'm like, am I ever going to see a level 25 enemy? Admittedly, I haven't looked at what level the like undisturbed hives in all these far out star systems that I haven't ever interacted with. Because if you look at them on the map, you can sometimes see like this one is sending out a shit ton of cargo ships, so it must be relatively high level. Or you can sometimes see like the fleet orbiting the main hive and be like, well, that's a shit ton of ships. So it's like, what level is that hive at?
You can't see until you're in the system? Or?
I don't think so. And it also wouldn't tell you necessarily how high level the ground bases would be either. Because when a new ground base spawns, it inherits the level of the hive of that system, but only when it's a new one.
Right.
So otherwise it just develops on its own timer. So yeah, I don't know. But yes, it's basically I've been having a break from the combat, apart from the, alerts every 5 minutes when my home-based system is getting its regular wave attacks. But it's like, don't even worry about that. I've automated that sufficiently for now, at level 5 or whatever. They occasionally manage to destroy one miner, occasionally. But even that's not important, because that base kind of isn't doing anything at the moment. It's background researching some science far too slowly to matter. It's just chipping away at some of the like higher level space fleet stuff, which just takes a long time. But I'm now in the process of like now we can build the real science labs. Now that I've got this,
unlike the beavers, you can't just skip to it.
No,
space beavers.
I mean, you could. As with Factorio and the other similar games of this type, like maybe once you make blueprints that you can pull from game to game, you just be like, put down the full blueprint of the labs, but only fill it half in or whatever as you go. Slightly harder to do in this game than Factorio, because you can't make stacked blueprints as easily as you can in Factorio. You could do it in Dysosphere, but it's much more difficult to. Because in Factorio, you can, when you've got the blueprint window open, you can like right click on any part of it to just remove that from the blueprint.
Oh, I see. Before you even put it down, but it doesn't. But only for that placement, right? Like, so it's
no, it's the other way around. When you're making the blueprint, you select everything, and then you can right click on that copy of the blueprint to get rid of parts of it,
Gotcha.
and then save that. So then you could make 3 different versions based on the same buildings, but with different parts of it existing. And you can sort of do that in Dysosphere, except you can only delete everything of a type, which isn't as helpful. Like, you can right-click to remove every type of Tier 1 belt in this blueprint, but that's not actually very useful. You can't individually select a line like you can in Factorio.
Gotcha.
But yeah, like, I haven't got nearly as... I don't find the blueprints nearly as useful in Dysosphere, well, also because they're inherently more awkward to use because of the spherical planets.
Yeah.
You have to be kind of careful about where you're making a blueprint, because otherwise you'll lock it onto like the equator or whatever, because it can't fit anywhere else because of the way it interacts with the grid of the planet, which is sometimes useful and sometimes, totally useless because you can only use it in that one situation. And I really wish there was a way to blueprint like mining, because that's one of it's in fact it's way easier, because you just make a blueprint that's like a square of miners, and then just ones that aren't on the mineral patch just don't get built. And you just slap it on there. Whereas in this one, each miner has to be individually placed to cover the veins until you unlock the second tier of miners. But then those you're just building one big building basically, and therefore you don't need to blueprint that either. Yeah, that's Dysosphere program. The enemies have temporarily at least become even more irrelevant, because I'm not even in a system with enemies at the moment.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I do want to finish the space combat tech tree and see what it's actually like to dislodge one fully.
Yeah, or even if you can.
Well, I'm pretty sure you can, but like, is there any point to? Because if resources drop from the enemy, surely the actual tactic is just to let them keep coming.
Yeah.
As long as it's outweighing your resource expenditure. But you can build laser turrets and they only run on power, so theoretically, infinite resources.
Just build another sphere around the sun and power.
Yeah, exactly.
Build another sphere.
That's the other thing about it. It's like, I've never really got into the late game of Dysosphere program of having multiple spheres.
Right.
Not that again, that's the sort of the point at that point in the game you've sort of finished. That's once you've built a sphere, that nothing else is really going to change after that point. Just make better and more efficient factories to make the spheres. Yeah, that's that. And that's pretty much everything that I played. I guess I finished Power Wash Simulator.
Woo!
Although really, last time we talked about it, I still only had one last level to go anyway. So I think it was a goddamn giant ass temple thing that you had to clean, and it took a very long time. and was kind of annoying, which is like there was no nuance to a lot of it because it's just like one giant flat wall, which is not the most interesting part even of that game.
Left and right again.
Yep.
And left and then right again.
And then you get a cutscene at the end of,
With cats.
of all the time travel, volcano, cats, everything. It all comes together at the end.
There's a TV show in that somewhere. Time travel volcano cats.
Yeah.
Maybe they can meet up with the samurai pizza cats.
Yeah, probably.
Have a good reunion.
And then there was a song, I guess, in the credits. Got to have a song.
It was a triumph.
We wash all day and we wash all night.
It was quite a lot like that. It was a song about power washing. That wasn't just a random song. It was a song very specifically about power washing.
So can you is that last level at least you quick save in the middle of it? Like, can you do it? You have to do it like a single save.
No, yeah, you could save it at any time in all the levels. And I finished off all the level-specific achievements because I had missed a couple, but they weren't because they were in the early levels. It's like those are kind of easy.
Well, make sure you get your power washer right in this cranny.
Well, the one of them that I missed because I forgot to check the achievement before starting the level on the second level was just clean the 12 stepping stones first, and it's like, well, I could just knock that out, just restart that level and quickly do that. Luckily, because it doesn't require you to also finish the level after doing that.
Right, I see.
In that specific case, because some of the other achievements are like that, where it's do that first and then finish the whole thing. And the other one that I think I missed was power wash the van using only the super high powered but tiny nozzle.
No.
But because it's only a van, that doesn't take that long. Okay. And you can, it's that's the trick to that game is when you're using the super high powered nozzle, but it's not very, you're not using it, if you're not using it for cleaning the super tough dirt where you need the pressure, then you can just stand really far away to cover as much area as possible because it's still high pressure. So you're in this garage when you're cleaning the van. You're I need to stand as far back against the wall as I can to get maximum area, even though I'm using the super high pressure nozzle, which doesn't help super much because it's still, you can't get that far away, but it helps a little bit. And then I did also try some one of the challenge mode levels where it's there's two different types of challenge mode levels where you have the speed run, basically, do it real fast. And then there's the do it with a limited amount of water, which is I tried one of those once and I was no, I don't even want to try and do that because that's just too much effort to try and work out how to actually be efficient.
Oh, what? Right, okay, yeah. Limited water supply. Limited soap.
Time, that's fine. You can just, you can figure out the best way to quickly rip through the stuff, and it also, in that case, it gives you specific attachments and whatever, which sort of hints you towards what might be a technique to get through it quicker. But yeah, I don't play pressure washer for stress. That's kind of the whole point of that game,
right? Yeah.
Watch a thing get less day.
So yeah, that's the end of my weird achievement hunting in that game. Not going to do the challenge mode achievements, and also obviously can't do any of the horde of achievements for all of the DLCs.
Oh, right.
Because they did that. They put in more achievements with all the DLC packs.
Huh.
So I'm not going to clean any SpongeBob stuff or DeLoreans.
I'm surprised Steam never split that off in the it feels I don't think Xbox does either. Or
this was on the Xbox, of course, because it's Game Pass.
Right.
It's not Steam.
Oh, I see. You're playing that version, but yeah, but even I'm of all things, it would make sense if Steam would split there was a way at least for the main achievements to be split.
I feel like there was, right? I think that might be one of those weird, hidden Steam things that no one ever uses in the same way as, the leaderboards and whatnot.
Right, that they weirdly reverted it. Because it would if you look at a game, and it's oh, you've got 100% of the base achievements, and then you've got these achievements in the DLC, that would sort of be nice, right?
Yeah. I think there was a way to do that at some point. But yes, no one bothers. And I feel like at some point was it PlayStation that did it? Because I feel like one of those had the DLC achievements separated at one point.
Oh, yeah, it might be PlayStation actually. I think they might have done that for Spider-Man, because it's not like I've bought much DLC for pretty much anything, because it's often not good value for money.
Yeah.
But I want to, because I had all the DLC for Spider-Man, and I want to say they actually did split all that out. I've never seen it done on Xbox though. I don't think the system can deal.
It might have been on Xbox back when like the live arcade stuff was changing to allow more than 1,000 points or whatever.
Well, I guess you could tell then, right? Yeah, because back then live arcade games were limited. The live arcade games were limited to 200,
right?
And a full retail release could get 1,000 in its points. So you could tell them apart that way. But then DLCs would, they had to start, because DLCs were new, right?
Yeah.
They had to start thinking about how they were going to do that, and that just meant like, you can add this many points to a game per DLC pack.
Yeah.
And now the shackles are off. You can pretty much do what you want. I think pretty much every game has a 1,000 max, but then when you do a DLC pack, you can add as many as you want.
Yeah. That's all I've played. Probably not actually, but that was all that I remember playing.
Yeah, all the important stuff.
What about you, Rob?
So I missed something last time. I don't know. I had a lot of little things to talk about last time, but there was something I actually played quite a lot of that I just totally forgot, and that was Rollerdrome on the Xbox, which is. I think it's a couple years old now, but it's from Roll7, the same developers of Oli Oli World, and probably one of my favorite multiplayer games in recent years, Laser League. And so it's them kind of bringing together. I get the feeling like everything they've ever done before, because it's got. You're on skates, so that's the Oli Oli side and the sort of Tony Hawk's influence being covered. You've got guns, so that's Not a Hero, which is also one of theirs, coming into play. And it's got the sort of dystopian future vibes of Laser League, so that's coming into the mix as well. And they've just kind of put it all together into one package, and the result is interesting, if not entirely successful, in my opinion. But I like to see them. I like to see it's a developer going a bit out there. So basically, the idea is like you skate around the environment in a Tony Hawk's like manner. So you jump over things, you go up half pipes, you're doing tricks, you can do grinds and things like that. But you need to be doing that primarily to be adding ammo to your pool, because there are dudes in the arena as well, and you need to kill them all. So whilst you're doing Tony Hawk style trick work, you've also got to be that you have a focus button that you press, and when you press that, it slows down time, so you can then aim the view at people and lock onto people and then shoot them whilst you're doing all the trick stuff. And what I would say, like, the controls start to get a bit messy when you're starting to do those two things at once. It's like
trying to play Tony Hawk and a third-person shooter at the same time.
Yeah, and that's kind of it. That's kind of its whole deal. Like, so you start off with pistols and guys that are only meleeing you, but the very next enemy is a sniper. So they start like they can be anywhere on the map, and as long as they have line of sight on you, they can take a shot at you. And you have a health pool, and you're trying to survive the level is the main gist. I think it is quite nice that they do try and telegraph everything in this game. So if a sniper has a bead on you, there's a big old red line that attaches to you from them, and it will turn white at the moment they're about to take a shot, allowing you to press the B button to dodge the attack. And if you dodge the attack at just the right time, you get a perfect dodge, which helps you keep your combo meter alive a little bit. grants you, if you're very quick on the focus mode, as soon as you do a perfect dodge, you end up with super reflex time, which is exactly the same as the regular reflex time, only your shots do more damage. So if you manage to time that well, it's like doing a good witch time, I suppose, in Bayonetta. If you manage to time that right, then you'll be making more efficient use of your ammo. So then you don't have to do so many tricks, I suppose. But it ramps up really quickly from there. Like the difficulty in this game is pretty steep. Not just because of the control schemes, but because they are throwing quite a lot of stuff at you pretty quickly. So it's not a hugely long game. Like there's I want to say 15 main levels, and that's it. And it's like you don't go back to levels. You play. It's a set challenge. And there's a bunch of sub challenges on the levels you can do at the same time. A little bit like Tony Hawk's, right? It's like, complete the level, but while doing this thing, or make sure you pull off this specific trick in this specific location, or keep your combo going for the entire run, or stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of subtasks to go for if you want to, but it gets pretty crowded and pretty messy pretty quickly, and I think it gets too crowded towards the end. Like there are you end up with enemies that are flying. They fly around and they paint this giant area on the floor, and they're just going to stomp it, and it will do a bucket load of damage when they do, and leave a pool of acid behind that will hurt you if you go through it. And whilst everything else is going on, and you're trying to chain together a combo, you're trying to flow from one thing to the next, and you just perhaps lose concentration for a split second, and you didn't quite notice that this targeting cursor is pretty large, right? So yeah, but it's a big circle like crosshair. So I think it's quite easy at times to see through it, if that makes sense. Like to see, because you can only really see only the outside of the crosshair is what's being rendered.
Right.
So it's quite easy to see the whole and not notice that you're about to get stomped on. So then you just get stomped on and you just die and your whole run's done. Yeah. And you've got to start the whole thing again. Or there'll be snipers there are just so many of them that I think the lines that are going over that are showing you they're about to shoot you, I think sometimes they overlap. So I think it's possible to miss the flash white that they're about to shoot, right, and you just get shot. They don't do as much damage as getting stomped on, but it all adds up over the course of a run. And then you end up with things that are flamethrowery, so you can't be nearby when you do them. There are enemies that have certain weaknesses, so eventually when you get all the guns, you have to start switching between guns as well and using the right guns against the right enemies. It's a lot, and I think it's too much.
Too much going on.
Yeah, it's cool. It's got such great style, and it's borrowing from Laser League's music, I guess. Laser League had this really interesting, I wouldn't call it psytrance. It's not really psytrance because it's not got that pounding beat that is associated with psytrance, but it's got these tight, fast synth loops, really quick, but then with lots of ambience going on around it and stuff like that. So it's got this really creepy future vibe, but with a sort of hyper tint to it. But that's in the menus. It's when you get into an actual fight, for some reason the music then becomes quite disco. I guess the whole thing is this is a TV show. It's like Gladiators of the Future kind of thing. So while you're doing the fight, there's this vocoded almost disco track playing while you're doing the thing. It's a weird mix, but it kind of works. And on top of that, the whole game is presented with a similar sort of art style to Sable. That sort of muted palette, black outline, comic book look.
Film shaded, but muted.
Yeah, Euro comic look, I suppose you'd call it. It's
sure, but quite thin lines.
Yeah, so it's got that whole thing going on at all times, and they do the thing I really like. They don't really do much in the way of title aesthetics either. So when you launch the game and it gives you the tutorial and you're skating into your first arena, it just in one frame just cuts to the word Rollerdrome just in big letters when you're entering the thing. It's all like titles don't fade in or anything like fancy. It's just big bold letters just go poof, and you're like, there you go, this is what you're doing. And it's like, it's a cool look. It's a cool look. So, and I think they've proved time and time again, Roll7, that they are very good at the aesthetic. And this is a very much an interesting, as I said, an interesting blend of kind of everything they've done before. It's just a shame that the game is so goddamn hard.
Yeah, right.
And I got through the campaign, and guess what? There is a second version of the campaign that is even harder.
Oh man!
And it's and at that point I was like, no, I'm out. Because in fairness, the last boss, talking about boss fights, that last boss is an absolute ass. Like it's such a downer on the rest of the game. Like it just doesn't work very well, if you ask me. And it's got lots of these big area effect attacks that you can't really see. There's homing missiles flying everywhere that can hit you out of the blue. Like you can sort of hear them, but you might just pull a trick and then, or need to pull a trick, and that might slow you down enough for this missile to seemingly come out of nowhere and blow you the hell up. And it's, I don't know, really didn't enjoy the end of it. Boss fights, am I right? But I like what it was going for a lot. It's just too complex a game. For me, anyway. Too much finger juggling. I was clenching, man. I was doing the clench.
Well, actually.
The clench.
Yeah. So that's Rollerdrome. What else have I been playing? I finished F.I.S.T. Or F.I.S.T.
Yep.
I like that game, but I feel like I shouldn't. Like, because the back half of that game, the quality takes a bit of a dive.
Right.
Like, I thought I thought the setup in the first half was pretty cool. Like I'd mentioned before, there was some graphical issues aside and some sound issues here and there. Even some dialogue that occasionally plays out of sequence. All of that was still true towards the end, except like the polish level definitely felt like it dropped. Like, so that stuff like that seemed like it happened more often. The story kind of falls apart. Like the whole like big thing that it gets you hooked on right at the start of the game kind of ends up just being a power MacGuffin that doesn't really mean anything. And this ancient order of cats that are supposedly protecting the power MacGuffin, they're kind of not a thing, as it turns out, not really important to the whole thing. And it just ends up being a bit of a you versus your old friend story, and with not a lot to it, and that's a bit of a shame. It kind of like it's for as much as a great job they do at actually kind of building this world, and as good as the world looks and hangs together, and the whole aesthetic they're going on, I think is real good. But it just it's let down by somewhat shoddy, pretty shoddy writing, in fairness, and that might be fair because it's a Chinese-made game, and maybe it's all just got a bit lost in translation somewhere. But I don't know. I don't know how it would work, even if it wasn't a translation problem. Like, because elements just aren't important in the end. That said, it kept me hooked all the way through it, and I did 100% the thing because it's, I don't know, it's got that Metroidvania sauce, man. Like there's a reason why these games work, and like I don't think it's that. I'm beginning to believe it's not that difficult to make a Metroidvania that actually can get its hooks in you, and this got its hooks in me. I will say, like the like back maybe 30% of the game, there is far too much underwater stuff. You eventually get the ability to traverse underwater without too much hassle, and there's a lot of it. But you sort of like the last couple of the two biggest area in the games are in that like final third, and their names are Underwater Base and Underwater Lake. They're the two biggest areas in the game. Too much underwater. But yeah, and I thought the combat was fun. I thought the last boss was pretty fun. Talking about boss fights, most of the boss fights in F.I.S.T. are actually pretty good. They're hard, but they're pretty good. I will say the mild spoilers. Well, it's not really spoilers because he's not a character. But the Yokozuna pig boss.
Pig box.
Pig boss. Yeah, the Yokozuna pig boss that's some shit right there. That's a terrible boss. That's just really annoying to fight. But the rest of them kind of fun. As I say, difficult but fun. I think its combat system, even with everything in play, I think it's good but not perfect. It's combo heavy, so like you do a lot more damage if you manage to chain together a combo against things. But there are quite a few enemies that are resistant to getting into a hit stun state. It depends what animation they're in, whether or not you can actually stun them out of it. So even if they're like winding up for an attack and you hit them, it's like that's not usually enough to get them out. If they're already in the wind up, it's like don't attack them basically. If they're already, you're not going to stun them out of that attack. So it's a little hard to get used to at times, and you can often just bone yourself by like, oh, I'm going in. Like there's clearly a window there. Oh, that wasn't a window. No, because you started winding up for attack as I charged in. You do eventually get a dash ability that makes combat a lot easier because it gives you some invincibility frames that you didn't have before, or the ability to get through, not get closed into or cornered, which becomes pretty critical for some of the later bosses for you to be even be able to fight them, and that makes a lot of that stuff a bit better. It's a shame the like abilities you gain aren't inspired, right? It's not doing anything. It's kind of the biggest thing about Fist. Like ignoring the polish issues, ignoring the fact that I managed to soft lock it at one point with a feature they apparently added after launch that apparently wasn't added very well. Despite all of that, it's like the biggest problem I think Fist has is that it's just its move set just isn't very inspired. It's not really doing anything new and particularly interesting. It's got everything you might expect. Like, oh, do you need a whip to get around to get to higher places? Yeah, we've got that. you unlock it in the last third of the game, but like, yeah, we've got it, and it's like that's almost the most interesting thing it does, because then it's like, oh, now I can access all these different areas that I couldn't before, and I've seen these little hook points all across the game, and now I can use them. It's like great, and it's like if that's all you've really got going for you, it's like maybe you needed to have a bit of a longer think about your moveset. And this is turning into a Rob review, obviously, but I did enjoy my time with it. Like it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It kept its hooks in me. As I say, I went and found every single secret in that game that I could. I haven't got all the achievements because like some of those achievements are like things that you need to do in the middle of combat, like execute a couple of guys in the air without ever landing. That just was never a possibility as far as I could tell for me. It just never happened. The opportunity never came up. Or use some of your like secondary like equipment in certain ways, like do enough damage to kill 3 things at once with this exploding puppet thing that you get. The problem is there's no incentive to use those because that comes from the same energy pool as your healing, and healing is obviously more useful most like than using your ability, than any of those abilities most of the time. So you save it for when you need to heal. So I didn't end up using any of that and didn't get any of those achievements. And there's still a few secret achievements, and I'm like, what the hell are they? Like I've in theory done everything this game has to offer, apart from, as I said, the feature I mentioned before where I managed to soft lock it, which is basically a boss rush mode, but they present it a bit like a fighting game. So you find this like arcade machine, and it's like, oh, here you can go fight any of the bosses you've done before, and oh, here's a challenge mode where you boss rush a few of them in a row, and it looks like there are going to be like bosses unique to that mode. So I wonder if those achievements are tied to that. Problem is, as soon as whenever I attempt one of those boss rushes, I get past the first fight, and then it just totally breaks. Like, it gives me the choice to, do you want to continue or do you want to back out? And I'm like, yeah, I want to carry on. Of course I want to carry on. That's the challenge. It then presents me that option again. So that bit of UI then appears on screen a second time. But the game is running in the background. So, like, the boss fight is beginning whilst that bit of UI is still on screen. So I say, yeah, I want to continue. And then you lose all control. Like the game just doesn't hand it to you. And I've had one time where that happens, where like the boss didn't actually even spawn in the background, so it was just me standing in this empty room, like unable to get out of this scenario because I had no UI option to leave the leave the combat challenge.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's totally broken. It's completely and utterly broken, and it's basically unfinishable as far as I can tell. I don't know how to make it work. Yeah, and as I say, you can soft lock your game. You can at least load the save and recover it, as it turns out. I was a bit worried. It's like, oh god, have I broken this permanently? But no, you can get out of it. I did have one case where some of that UI actually stayed on screen and covered the screen whilst the game was running in the background. So I managed to get out of it by like hearing my way out of that room that the arcade machine was in and getting to a save point. Like by audio alone. And then that bit of UI disappeared. And it's like, okay, I need to not do whatever that thing is. I need to not do that part of the game because it's just clearly busted. Anyway, that's F.I.S.T. I enjoyed my time.
In the words of Stuart Lee and Richard Herring, fist of fun.
Okay.
Well, you said it was fun.
Yeah.
It's a fist of fun.
I see. Do you not want a fist full of fun?
No, just a fist of fun.
Just a fist of fun. Just the knuckle dusting of entertainment. Just a little skim off the top. Can I get a few of my flakes off my hand? There you go. That's your fun layer.
Oh no, Fist of Fun is 30 years old. Oh dear. Oh well, never mind. So my reference is out of date.
This is like everything we say these days.
Yeah, I know.
Gophers.
Yeah. Gophers. Yeah, exactly.
So that's freed me up to start on. I mean, Zach and I played some more RoboQuest, like
a little bit.
Yeah, that game's still fun. Want to play some more of that. We play a little bit of Derg. Don't think I've got anything really to talk about in Derg other than, come on, new content. So this has freed me up a little bit. I've not really got a game on the go. I played a little bit of Star Fox Command, but nothing I really want to talk about there just yet. I'm playing Yakuza 0. It's time.
Okay.
It's time.
I'm about 8 hours into this because I'm addicted to it already.
Sweet.
It's another one of those, but it's in the 80s now. It's in 1988, and I think I've said this before, but I really respect what they do to. Even though you're always going back to the same areas in these games, these same locations, you're still in Kamurocho. There's still Sotenbori in Osaka in it, and there's you're still, but they put care into these areas. They've transformed them for the 80s, and it's they do such a great job. They really do at keeping this world alive. Like, because some places are there, some that you recognize, but a lot of them aren't. So, like, one of the core parts of the very first Yakuza game was the fact that they built this Millennium Tower, which but it's the Millennium Tower, right? And we're in the 80s,
so it's not there in the 80s,
that nothing of that is there, and this whole area of the map is different because it's like this whole thing hasn't been rebuilt yet. And as it turns out, a lot of the Kamurocho storyline is about real estate and acquiring real estate. So perhaps that is leading into the redevelopment projects of which there seems to be quite a lot in the Yakuza series. Now I think about it, because it's the whole Kamurocho Hills storyline from Yakuza 2.
Well, that's a very mafia thing. I don't know about Yakuza, isn't it? But like all construction and all the corruption of building things and. Right.
Yeah, I get and protection money and basically owning. It's all about that. It's all about owning property. And Kiryu obviously being framed for murder. Standard. At this point, standard.
I mean, it wouldn't be a Yakuza game without that.
But I guess it's a little different because it's the first time it's happened technically in the timeline. So that's fun. And also, like, it happens pretty early on, so like I assume I'm not really in spoiler territory, but Kiryu is expelled from the Yakuza, so he's not actually Yakuza at this point in the game. He's working independently to clear his name, so that's kind of cool. It's also like I want to go back to the world building because they've done so much to it, because it's like obviously the signage can't be the same, because it's like they have to use all like crappy lights and like bad 80s neon everywhere
and stuff, yeah.
and so all of the signage is different, and in that, and there's a real glow to parts of Kamurocho that like, and it's a different glow to how the game looks, and they've paid attention to that, and it looks like it's really quite a minor thing, like in a way, but like for some reason in the context of this being the 6th one of these I've played, like it matters, and they do a really fantastic job of it. The one thing I will say that is a bit weird, like 1980s Japan, I don't know if this is true or not, but there is trash everywhere. Like it doesn't have like that clean modern thing that you think about Japan as, like, you know, or urban areas in Japan as being this wonderfully well kept environment. No, there is just boxes and garbage bags and crap everywhere. It's weird. Like I don't know enough about 80s Japan to know if that's just how it was in cities, but it's definitely stands out. I think Miles wants to get involved. He's been watching me play some of this. He probably shouldn't be watching me play some of this.
Probably not.
It's like it's just really nice and really interesting. Like in Sotenbori, for instance, there's a whole in the games I've played, there's like an area that like either side of the river where you can walk. There are like pedestrian areas either side of the banks, and there are shops there are restaurants, and it's nicely paved and it's all lit up and stuff like that. None of that is developed in this version. Like they thought about that and were like, oh, no one's done the work here yet, so that entire section of the map is like totally different and just undeveloped. It's like grassland and shrubbery, like just disused alleyways, and it's like, oh, this is rad. This is like I'm just reveling in all these little details that have changed. Even like Club Sega isn't a thing. They're just like regular ass Sega, like the blue and white logo and stuff like that. And it's attention to detail, man. It's great. But like the core mechanics are like quite different this time as well, because it's like supposed to be in like boom time 80s. So the entire game is like based around money, and you get a bucket load of it for beating up people. But then you don't gain like experience or anything like that. Experience is done away with. It's all about money, and all the cash you get. You literally and the game says invest in yourself. And so you literally do that. You have to earn the money to spend it on yourself, and that's how you get your abilities and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. So it's all Golden Gecko, greed is good, sort of.
Pretty much, situation. Yeah. Kiryu's got his 3 fight styles at the moment. I assume he gets a 4th maybe at some point. So it's back to it's similar to the Kiwami 1 fight engine, which makes sense because I think this came out in between Kiwami 1 and 2 in real terms. So it probably borrows a lot from Kiwami 1's fight engine, but Sotenbori would have been new because it wouldn't have been in. Well, it wasn't new because it was in the previous games, but would have been, this version of it would have been new before they redid it for Kiwami 2. Also, I got about 7 hours in, and the game suddenly pulled the, not spoilers, you can tell this from the box art, but the game suddenly does the thing that the last 2 or 3 Yakuza games have done, which is like, suddenly you're no longer playing as Kiryu. Here's what you've always wanted: have some Majima. So, like, I'm like, and the Majima's intro sequences and like cut scenes and stuff, they are super long. It's like an hour of content that you're pretty much just watching, but nice. It's like, but it's so cool. Like, it's just Majima being like not very, but it's Majima, but he's not being his normal self. He's being like he's basically managing a cabaret club and being like a stand-up guy and doing everything the right way. And then you find out it's all a facade, and he's being forced to do this, and he doesn't really enjoy it, even though he's like super good at it. Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. Like, I get me some Majima time. I don't know. Yeah, I freaking love these games.
I can tell.
they're so stupid, and then they don't change enormously from entry to entry, but I just love their style. I just love their swagger. And there's enough different here that I'm invested.
Good. Yeah, the change of setting and the storyline and everything, and
you can play Space Harrier.
Crucial. With a faithful version of it.
It's a pretty good version of Space Harrier. Yeah.
All right, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about.
I mean, this game's enormous, so yeah. I'm getting to the. I'm sort of getting to the at the moment what I think is peak Yakuza, right? Like from the ones I've played before, like because I'm out of real time sequence, right? Because I played Kiwami 1 and 2 and then went back in time to 3. So I'm catching up to the point of where I think the peak Yakuza experience is. So it's it can only get better from here, right?
Even better.
Get hype. That's me. That's what I've been doing.
All right.
I've been getting hype for Kiryu. Oh, and I've sung Back in Mitai already, so that happened. Just check that. That happened in like the first hour of the game. It made me go do some karaoke. I'm like, oh, Back in Mitai is just unlocked from the start. Well, of course I'm doing that.
Is that song? What is that canonically from the? When would it come out?
I don't really know, when, but it's like such a power ballad, right? It could have come out in like the 70s, probably.
Right, easily, yeah.
Yeah. But I just thought that was funny. It's just front load it with the song everyone does.
I mean, why not? I mean, give the people what they want.
I think if the one thing I'm perhaps a little down on is that the music is generally good in this game, but it's normal Yakuza good, right? They haven't 80s that up.
Oh, right.
So if I get into a fight as Majima, it's playing like a sort of drum and bassy sort of mix of stuff when he's in his thug style. The music does change when you change your fight style, which is kind of cool. So there's like different music depending on how you're fighting, which is neat. But yeah, I kind of wish they had gone like full on synthwave or something with it and just lent into that. But for some reason they didn't, and that's a bit of a shame. Also, Kiryu's not wearing his normal suit. Like maybe that's part of the story, like how he acquires his suit.
It means something.
Yeah. I mean, neither character has their names, right? Like, Kiryu isn't the Dragon of Dojima yet, and Majima isn't the Mad Dog of Shimano yet. So presumably this is about them earning.
Origin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kiryu's not even fully inked yet, you know? He's not got he's not got his huge, tattoo on the back so he can do the classic, rip your suit off in one action. So it's not going to look right. Another Yakuza member has already done that. So we've had one of those. We've had one suit removal.
I'm sure they'll get to it. They'll explain everything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what these things are for.
That'll be a mechanic, I'm sure, getting fully inked.
Guaranteed. Cool. Well, I've still been playing Mario Wonder. Getting to it. Still really, it's basically all killer, no filler, basically. The only bits I like a little bit less maybe are the combat challenges, but they're actually good. They're just a bit harder sometimes, and they're cool. They're inventive as well, but just not as much as the regular levels, I guess. And I've just got through I've got one more world to go because the last one I did was the fungi mines, which I don't understand why that's in the flower kingdom and not in the mushroom kingdom.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's because it's underground, right? So
it's underground.
It's the mushroom strata sticks up into the mushroom kingdom.
Yeah, it must be.
You know what? It's an important layer of the crust of this planet.
Yeah, but that had some good bits. That had levels where you have to find the secret exit because the regular exit doesn't give you anything.
Oh right, a little bit like the sort of ghost house mechanic in Super Mario World, where it forces you to do that at one point.
And that had some cool bobbling around in jelly mechanics and turning into jelly and sticking to walls and stuff. Yeah,
are there ghost houses in this?
There are boos.
Okay,
I don't know about full on ghost house.
Yeah, because that feels like a trope that I've not really seen in any marketing material for it.
Actually, down in the mines there are boos that and they get destroyed by light. I can't remember if that was a thing before. So if you turn on the lights with like a switch, and drag and get the boots to fly into the light.
Interesting. I don't know if that's been a thing, right? Like, there's always been the look at them thing. Like,
the look at them thing's still there. Yeah.
I don't know about the light death.
So
that sounds potentially new. Cool. Well, unless they're like Luigi. Well, it works in Luigi's Mansion, so why wouldn't it work here?
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe it's brought over from Luigi's Mansion.
Even then, that's only a stun, isn't it? Not like a full-on murder.
Well, yeah, maybe. I guess it depends. That's only a flashlight, though. Maybe you need more intense light.
Yeah. Yeah, these are like room lights, I guess. Yep. Still good. Definitely play it. It's a good one. I don't know how you're going to get hold of it, Zach, but you've got to at some point.
Well, presumably we've got a full-on 9 months until Switch 2, whatever that new Mario game.
Maybe.
Rumors.
Yeah. Let's hope so. Well, let's hope it comes out this year. I hope it does. I think it will.
I hope Switch 2 improves the frame rate on Hyrule Warriors. So,
It may well do. I'm pretty sure it'll be fully backward compatible and hopefully to the point where, just like Xbox these days, like it will improve Switch games.
I think system. No doubt this will be like DS to 3DS and throwing away like the whole 3D part, that like this is mostly just a power upgrade and it'll be the same form factor.
But if they can reliably, which they're probably through patches, I don't know how well they'll be able to do it, but if they can reliably get Switch games running in dot mode at like 4K 60, that would be awesome. Or not, maybe not 4K, but I don't know.
Yeah, it depends how much Nintendo are willing to go back and just do that for their old games. I don't know. If that's not
all at once.
Yeah, it's not a very Nintendo-like thing.
Yeah, but sometimes you never know, and that would bolster the selling of the thing. If they don't have that many games to start off with, that would be a big selling point.
They just want to re-release the game and slap a DX on it. That's the problem.
Right, I guess. Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to get away with that with Switch games. Like,
no, not as much.
Anyway, I think it will be overall positive.
Yeah, I think it's about time for a Switch 2.
Yeah. And let's hope there is a full-blown 3D Mario. Or who knows what. I don't know. Metroid Prime 4 or something.
Metroid Prime 4. They have to say something like I didn't realise it was it was 2017 that they announced Metroid Prime 4. That is a bloody long time ago.
Yeah, but when did they announce they were ditching it and starting
like 2 years
scratch?
Ago or something?
Right, okay, yeah. That's when you have to really count, right?
I mean, really, but that is bonkers. Like even for Nintendo, that is a nuts timeline.
Yeah.
I say even for Nintendo. Nintendo are normally pretty good at their announced to release window being pretty short.
Indeed.
Surprise F-Zero game. There were rumors that like GX was going to get like remastered.
That'd be cool. And that's a podcast. Thank you for joining us, all listeners. We have a YouTube channel as well. Check that out, Happy Salad. Got some Sonic Adventure 2 going on at the moment. Rounding out our Sonic Adventure. And some Pizza Tower.
Yep.
So check that out on YouTube. And this is our Saladcast that you've been listening to, and you'll get another one in your ears if you come to the same place this time in 2 weeks. So we'll catch you then.
Indeed.
Goodbye.